Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to have a discussion about freedom of speech and the government's increasing propensity to throw everyone in jail for expressing their opinions. One might almost think that we're heading for a time. So, oops, uh, that was the echo. Damn, sorry about that. Anyway, we're gonna. One could almost think that we're heading for a time that where we're going to have political prisoners in the Western world. So, joining me today is Anne-Marie Waters, the head of the political party for Britain, and Count Dankula, who is not arrived yet. He's just arriving from work, so he had to catch a snack before he joins us. And as you know, he's facing prison time for a joke he did on YouTube. Also joining us is 6oodfella, who has already spent time in jail for a tweet, and Uzalu, the organizer of the Jubilee Park meetup in 2007 that drew some tediously predictable hyperbole from the media. And last but not least, the Reverend Simon Sideways, who makes YouTube videos directly from his truck, if rumors are true. And also
when it's parked up, yeah.
Also supports free speech. So to begin with, since I'm not an expert in British politics, Anne-Marie, would you mind explaining a little bit about what your political party stands for?
Well, we stand for democracy, for nation-state democracy, and to try and drag it back before we lose it altogether. And some would argue we have lost it already. And of course, the loss of freedom of speech is the big indicator. We have huge problems here. We have, of course, legislation, hate speech laws used to persecute people. Of course, hate speech being the old communist trickery of anyone who won't go along with what the state sanctions can be said is guilty of hate. We have hate speech laws, but we also have a rising intimidation. And I think it's been rising, particularly since Jeremy Corbyn became leader of the Labour Party. Right. The Labour Party is the main left-wing party in the end, it's the main opposition as well. And it's really been taken over by the extreme left in the last few years, and since that time, I mean, I've been an outspoken critic of Islam, for example, for a very long time, and I've been traveling the country speaking against Sharia law and Islam for about more than 10 years, and I've seen, there've been protests over the years, but in the last few years, it's gotten extremely difficult, for example, to hold an event. I tried to just hold a speaking event a couple of times this year, and I've failed a couple of times. Venues won't host us, and they won't host us because after they do, they get phone calls, intimidatory phone calls, or even phone calls from the police saying, do you know who these people are? Do you know who you're hosting? And immediately people will cancel. People get afraid, they get intimidated, and they'll cancel. And it's coming from the very top of the Labour Party now, sort of obstruct your opponents. We have senior MPs like Jacob Rees-Mogg recently, who had a speech he was giving interrupted by so-called anti-fascists. It's really very.
And we just saw this the other day with Sargon of Akkad being overrun by Antifa and had his event cancelled.
No, it's going to get more common, I think.
Yeah, you seen a small example on Twitter earlier when you posted you were having this hangout, and then everybody started coming on and saying, "Do you know who she is? Why are you talking to her?" As if we've just to cast her aside and never speak to her just because they don't agree with what she says, and it's despicable.
Yeah, and there's so much hyperbole as well, because obviously, for instance, Sargon of Akkad, a well-known leftist, is someone they call a Nazi. It's like unbelievable.
He couldn't be any more middle of the road if he tried. He is the least Nazi person I've ever seen. And while we're on free speech, I don't know if this is anything you've heard of yet, Anne-Marie. Have you heard about the petition they've got against your book?
No, there's a petition against. I'll tell you, I must be hitting the spot.
Yeah. Hang on a second. I'll see if I can dig it up a second, because I read it. I obviously fell about laughing because it was utter rubbish. I'll dig it up. You carry on, and I'll come straight back.
It just makes me want to read the book.
It's the Streisand.
Yeah.
Right, I'm actually quite grateful for it.
Streisand effect.
Thanks, whoever did that. That's great.
Yeah.
Books that are surrounded in controversies tend to sell a hell of a lot better than regular ones. So yeah, they're doing you a favour.
Oh yeah.
Oh, hang on a second. Let me just. Yeah, it's got a big sign of. I don't know if you can see that.
Oh,
Right. So, for Britain leader Anne-Marie Waters, the far-right politician, has written a book attacking the Muslim community. And the book is based on lies and hatred and is designed to radicalize people into turning against Muslims who come to the UK for a better future. It goes on. It's utter, can't swear. It's rubbish. And it's basically trying to say that what they want to do is stop it going into any bookshop. They want to make sure that nobody's going to sell it, nobody's going to buy it, whatever. They've got a full 50 signatures. You know, he's doing well.
But have you ever noticed that when they attack somebody like Anne, they say that she's attacking Muslims, but yet when a Muslim commits a crime, they call them Asians. Isn't that funny? How?
Yeah.
All right.
And there's a lot of Asian people out there that don't look like these particular people are going,
Exactly.
This is nothing to do with us. Why are we taking a heat for this? But it is absolutely rubbish. But you look at people like they were just jailed the other day, whether you agree with their actions or not. This the other party, Jada Franson and that. I don't agree in their techniques at all. I think that it is slightly inflammatory. But to jail them, put them in prison because they want them out of the way for what they're saying is ridiculous. And I believe that Tommy Robinson went down to cover it and he had his door kicked in and they were going to try and put him down. And it was only because he had a barrister, two barristers actually, and it cost him £20,000 he was sponsored for that he didn't go to prison. He's now on, basically, if he even looks in the wrong direction, he'll be going to prison just for bringing to people's attention what's going on.
Right.
That's
right.
1984 state.
And there was, wasn't there a woman who went to jail these last couple of days who had something to do with Donald Trump's tweet?
yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
What's
that's the one.
happened? What's actually happened with them?
Well, she got 36 months.
You're kidding. When did
Now,
No, it was 36 weeks. It was weeks she got.
sorry. Yeah.
What was
Yeah,
her crime? What was her crime?
She's got two different things, but basically there was a chicken shop that they invited a girl. A girl went in there and said that she was drunk and she was asking for directions. Long story short, she ended up getting dragged upstairs and things happened. Their DNA was all over this girl. They got released out on bail. So Franson and Golding went down there to bring to people's attention that this is what was going on. They handed out leaflets and that was unacceptable. So long story short, they ended up in jail, not in jail, they ended up in court about it. And it was always going to be one result for them. And so, yeah, they're in prison now, but it's not going to look too good for them because having, I know a little bit about prison. The Muslims that run the wings now will make sure that those two have an incredibly hard time. And I don't feel very confident that they'll get out of there without a good kicking, at least.
Right.
And that's all because of freedom of speech. So you don't have it.
So what's the connection with Trump on this one?
She did some tweets. Trump got hold of it and retweeted it because he's got a sense of humor.
So he retweeted her tweets. Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
And yeah, that went down really well.
Yeah, that must have been something that infuriated them.
Well, it was just more stuff to fan the flames. I was looking into something today about all these false crimes that have been reported, I should say, since Trump's been in, and it's all anti-Muslim crimes and stuff like this. These people saying I've been attacked for this, I've been attacked for that. It's all been debunked.
Right. When did when did Labour parties stop caring about the workers and just worry about minorities or
You didn't pronounce it right. It's the Socialist Democratic. They might as well be a communist party.
When did that happen?
They've got more. There've been people who have been that way leaning in there for quite a while, but it's since Corbyn got in that everybody went a bit mental, as far as I can see.
Yeah, it started with Corbyn. He's the one that's sitting there on TV preaching about socialism and all that shit. Man, he is very that way inclined.
I love him singing that communist tune. I've got Nigel Farage, right? I shouldn't say that too loudly. All right, sorry, but I've got him singing the national anthem, completely out of tone. Fair play to him. And then you've got Corbyn straight after singing some Russian, the red flag will fly tune. I'm like, yeah, that says enough.
Yeah.
So
the end is nigh.
What are your chances for getting into Parliament, Anne-Marie?
Oh gosh, at the moment, things change. And I keep saying this to people. We have this illusion of permanency where we think that it's always going to be as it is. It's not. Things change. Really big things change. And I think that if the Labour Party can be wiped out in Scotland, which they were, they can be wiped out in England as well. Now, I've obviously got a long way to go. A lot of work needs to be done. A lot of support needs to be gained. We haven't even got through the first hurdle of the Electoral Commission. But it's only been a few months, so to put it into perspective. But look, I'm confident that a big change is coming. And if you can get the right voice and you can get the right things being said, and they're said in a way that people can relate to, big things can happen. Big things can happen.
Right.
Look at Italy. Italy have just they've got that. Is it the 5-star party that was set up by a comedian? And look how much ground they covered in such a short space of time because people had had enough.
Mm-hmm.
People over here, by all the comments that I get, are sick to the back teeth of what's going on, and they're scared to say anything. They're absolutely terrified. And they say, "Oh, more people like you." But the more people that do speak out, it will start to snowball. Unfortunately, a few people will get arrested along the way.
It's already.
You've seen it in France.
Yeah.
Like, you've seen it in France as well. Like, even though Le Pen lost, like, France was one of the most liberal feminist countries in the world, right? And Le Pen got massive support. So many people swung to the right, even though she didn't win. Like, see, look at previous French elections. Like, right-wing people have never done well.
Mm-hmm.
They've never done well in France. But then, obviously, because of mass immigration and stuff like that, there was a huge upsurge in the right. And more people are converting as well, just because of this bullshit.
Yeah, I mean, you've only got to look at France. It's just completely buggered, isn't it? Like, I mean, places you can't go. People are going into coffee shops over there, right? Women, and they're getting horsed out of the place straight away. And they're actually saying to them, "This isn't Paris anymore. This isn't France anymore. This is, and this is where they come from." They're like, "No, mate, it's actually France." And people are just shit scared to say anything. It's like, no.
What do you mean? Just
exactly
because they're
the
women?
same happens in London. Exactly the same happens in London. Where I lived in London over about a 10-year period in South London, I saw it change so much that there were coffee shops as well that women didn't go into. You'd have streets, you'd never see a woman on it. Cafes full of men. Exactly the same thing. It's happening all over London as well. And it's going to happen all over Europe. And it's one of the big changes. This is why politics is going to change and why it is changing. Like you say, Le Pen did really well, Geert Wilders did really well, and now in Italy. So this big change that's happened to Europe means it's a time for political change. And
they talk about white flight, but you look at them in London, right? People are being forced out of certain areas. It's not that they're racist; it's they're not safe there, so they have to move out. And this is going on over London, Birmingham, Bradford, Leeds. Jesus, it's all over the place.
Right, and if you add on top of that the suppression of speech, then you really have a powder keg, don't you?
Yeah.
If they're not allowed to.
There's only so much people can take before they actually lose their mind. And I wouldn't want anything bad to happen, but
of course,
there's only so much you can push people.
It has got like that absolutely radically out of control that even Merkel herself has had to come out and go, okay, maybe there's a little no-go zone problem. Okay, fucking Merkel herself.
There's just a couple of roads at the moment. It's only a couple of roads. We're getting to it. Yeah, all right, Merkel.
She's sitting there like, yeah, this is a problem that needs to be addressed. You fucking caused it, you daft bitch.
She's the only person that could walk down there safely because she's clearly not of woman born. All right, so she's going to be as safe as houses in those places. But anybody else that's a human being, no, not a chance.
Nice gated community with a lot of security. Yeah,
yeah. sending her first. Yeah, we'll be safe. But yeah, it's horrendous. I mean, you've got Sweden the other day. They tried somebody under Sharia law rather than their own law. Right, he was guilty of beating his missus, but because it's culturally all right.
I think showing everyone Sweden is enough to get everyone converted to right wing, because see when Sweden actually have a class to teach migrants not to rape, and then the teacher gets raped.
I'm not supposed to laugh at that, that's bad. But it's like, here's how you sleep with a white person. Try not beating them up first. That's always a winner.
God damn.
Sorry. Ask permission. That's the second idea. You know, when you bring people, when you bring people over from a third world country with an IQ lower than a snake's ass, right, with morals as low, right, and you ask them to then think about acting in a democratic and law-abiding way, you might as well as ask the Titanic to raise itself under its own steam. You got two hopes.
Well,
I feel myself getting wound up now.
let's not get carried away with the intelligence and that discussion, because there are obviously smart people in every demographic. So let's not.
But even the smart ones are a problem. Perhaps more of a problem.
Yeah, but yeah.
Let's go deeper, shall we?
Yeah, cool.
Let's go with the high IQ one first, shall we?
Anyway, so yeah, what was that thing about Sweden? What did they do there?
Well, just one of the things was a bloke, as I say, hit his missus, and because they tried him under a sort of like a
now I remember.
Okay. Oh
right. That was where the court actually said that she shouldn't have gone to the police. She should have gone. She should have gone to her family. That is a horrific thing to say to a woman who's going there for spousal abuse or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, they've brainwashed these people so much. There's a feminist woman over there who was working at a place for these underage migrants. They basically hadn't, they were thinking about sending them back or whatever. Anyway, she'd fallen in love with him. She's 45 years old. He got to 18, had to come out of the place, so she took him home. So, like you would, just rape the daughter, because that seems the obvious thing to do, doesn't it? Right? And then she told her daughter not to say anything because she didn't want him chucked out. Now, if that's not brainwashing, and this woman's part of that hashtag Me Too movement. So, you know, they brainwash people into, if you say anything, it's terrible. There's a woman contacting me at the moment. She's only just gone to the authorities to say she has been raped in the past. But these people are scared to speak out. Their freedom of speech has been eroded far worse than ours has over here. We've still got.
Okay, so but I want to hear more about this thing with Goodfella. How did you end up in jail?
Oh, it was a tweet. It was a joke tweet. The Pride Glasgow, you know, the gay pride parade. Mm-hmm. And there was a hashtag that was trending, Pride Glasgow. And someone from my Twitter account, cough cough, tweeted the hashtag and said, "Where's a Muslim with a truck when you need one?" And that's why I spent the weekend in jail.
All right.
I mean, it's an obvious joke.
Of
you know
course.
what I mean?
Yeah,
obvious joke. But
yeah,
you're not allowed to joke in Scotland anymore because it's well, you're allowed to joke about certain people. You can joke about men or white people or straight people, you know, Christians, conservatives. You can joke about them all day long, but there's certain groups that you can't joke about. Women, gays, Muslims, you know.
So it's almost like laws on a...
Sorry, you're cutting out there, buddy.
That's the government getting to him already.
Yeah, how's the internet connection? They're trying to cut you off. Yeah, I was thinking about that. It's like when you're a kid, they used to have all these comedy shows that took place in concentration camps, and there were Nazis all over the place. And then there was one in France, I remember, and during the Nazi occupation, you were allowed to make jokes about Nazis back then. There was no problem with doing that, but at that time there were actually people alive who lived through that, but it was still okay to joke about it. But now, holy shit, if you make a joke about some Nazi thing, that's a no-no. They'd rather just erase that from history. Isn't that strange?
But it's a fact. It happened. But I mean, if Corbyn got into power, everybody by yourself in this chat is in a gulag. Seriously, because we're all guilty of wrongthink. We're all not bothered. But yeah, it's like they used to have a lot of comedy back in the 70s that was really, really funny. Bit tongue in cheek, you know, the old mother-in-law jokes and the joking about the Germans and the jokes about this, that, and the other. And it was funny. Nowadays, if you played that to somebody on the extreme left, if they didn't combust there and then in front of you, they'd report you because the humor's gone out the door. You've only got to look at that college. The other day, they were memeing away to each other, and I'm not going to repeat what they say. It was a bit spicy, but there was it was dark humor, but it was humor nonetheless. And they were going to kick these people out of the school for that because they're policing what they mean.
Right.
A load of people have lost their Discord channels the other day because they were slightly right-wing leaning. You know, there's a wrong thing going on, and you know, depends on which side you're on.
So, how's the status for you, Dankula? What's going on with your legal case?
I'm back in court in 12 days.
12 days.
12 days. I think this is like my 7th or 8th appearance in court.
Do they keep postponing it or what?
Oh no, the last time, it's the final summarisation, so I think we are actually approaching the end, but it's where just basically the prosecutor and my lawyer just basically give their final word on the case, and the prosecutor literally spoke for the entire time the last time we were in. So my last date in court was literally just 7 hours of the prosecutor talking, just throwing all manner of wild accusations in there, just kind of hoping that something stuck. Yeah, that's basically what he's doing. He's just throwing all this stuff that he thinks, you know, with some trials you've got like DNA evidence or CCTV and all that stuff, you know, it can be kind of black and white. He's basically saying stuff as, this is what I think the accused thinks. Do I have any evidence for that? No, but listen and believe. that's pretty much what he's doing.
So
let's not
he pulled in some old gypsy to go, and this is what he's thinking. Like,
no, that's pretty much what he's doing. He's sitting there like, I've decided that this is what his intent is, and I've got nothing else to back.
This is what I want it.
Yeah, that's what I want. This is what I want you to mean.
Isn't it funny how you made
there? So why didn't I ask you? Like, come on, you're there.
Oh no, the thing is, I got to the point where I ended up going up against the prosecutor, and it was me head on, essentially having a debate with him. And I'm quite happy to say I absolutely thrashed him. He kept doing that old trick where whenever I answered a question, I didn't give him an answer that he wanted or anything that he could use. So he kept asking the same question over and over again. And I ended up calling him out on it, and I was like, I'm going to keep giving the same answer. I'm not going to change my answer to something you can use. And then he was just kind of like and moved on. I was just calling him out on all the tricks and all that stuff as well.
Can I ask you about your case? What happened?
I taught my dog to Nazi salute for a joke and respond to the phrase "gas the Jews," and I was arrested and charged with hate crime. But the whole point of the entire joke was my girlfriend loves the dog. She thinks it's the cutest thing ever. So I thought it would be funny to turn it into the most horrible thing ever. And I made that blatantly evident in the video, and I was arrested for it, and my trial's been going on for 2 years now.
And they charged you with what?
Hate crime.
Hate speech?
Yeah, hate speech, pretty much, yeah.
It's great trolling, though. The fact that you can make them say "gas the Jews" 500 times in a day is impressive. Well done, man.
Oh, yeah, he said it so many times. The funny thing is, the prosecutor in one day in court has said it far more than I ever have in my entire life. So, like, that's the thing that's funny.
And I suppose they're very willing to consider the context in which they're saying it, but very unwilling to consider the context in which you were saying it.
Oh no, I called him out for that. He turned around and says, like, he did actually turn around and basically say that we don't get to decide what my intent was, even though I fully know what my intent was. The public don't get to decide what my intent was or the context. The court can decide what the context and intent was and whether or not it matters. Funnily enough, the only time that the prosecutor thinks the context matters is when it's a type of context that may benefit his case, but he kind of ignores all the other stuff. You know, he loves cherry picking, this prosecutor. And he turned around and says, like, do you think the phrase "gas the Jews" is funny? And I said, depends on the context in which it's used. And I gave that exact same answer 6 times because he asked me the question 6 times. And he goes, but you said "gas the Jews." Gas the Jews over and over, gas the Jews. And I went, you're saying it right now. And he went, I'm merely reiterating what you yourself said. And I went, I know you are. I'm just ignoring your context. Like that. And then his ass collapsed because he kind of shit himself because he knew I had him. Man, he knew I had him at that point. Yeah, because it was funny as hell, man. Yeah, he didn't do very well.
Oh my God! Yeah, that's unbelievable.
He tried to make the claim as well that I'm using the dog as a smokescreen to hide my actual Nazi ideology and sanitize it. Yeah, he thinks I'm actually trying to use the dog to turn people into Nazis. That is legitimately what he argued in court, and it was that ridiculous that Lawrence Southern's cameraman had to get up and walk out the courtroom because he couldn't stop laughing. That's how ridiculous it was.
Oh my God!
I just wait used to add Sieg Heil, and that dog just looks at you. It's funny as well. Sorry.
Oh no, they kept playing my videos in court as well, and all that, man. And see how some of the stuff that I do in my videos, I don't know if you're aware, but I'm sitting there cringing in court, going like, not don't show that because it's incriminating. Like, oh, don't show that because no, I'm going to find that embarrassing. It's just cringe seeing it getting shown in court.
They all want to see the dog in the thing next to you, guilty.
Yeah, but Buddha's off to the
So,
man, the re-education gulag.
what are the actual laws in Britain concerning freedom of speech and hate speech and all that? Has anyone quantified that or what?
No, that's the danger of it. It's without much definition, and we don't have a US style protection either.
Mm-hmm.
So it's pretty much up to the police and their own interpretation, their own opinions, and up to the judge about what they're on and what political point and political message they need to send. The laws are all very vague, and that's how they're being used to silence some people and not others.
Oh, that's horrifying.
Well, that's the thing I see in the police's own hate crime operational guidance handbook. I don't know if anybody's seen the video that I did on that, but the thing that matters first and foremost in any kind of hate crime case is all based on perception. So you don't even have to say anything that would be directly, see, for example, if you screamed like a racial slur or anything like that, then it would be easy to argue that came from a place of hatred. But say, for example, that if I got in a fight outside a nightclub and the guy that I was fighting was homosexual, I didn't say any slurs or anything like that at all. See if that person perceives that the reason that I hit him was because they were gay. And if the police also have that perception, then I can go down for hate crime. You don't even need to do anything. And the police even, you've all seen the infamous photo in one of the police seminars that has a slide on a PowerPoint that says, "We do not need to prove hatred. All that matters is the perception," which is what's outlined in their own guidebook. So it's a case of we're going to keep this vague as shit so that if there's anybody that we really don't like the politics of, we can nail them, but we can give everybody else a pass.
That seems to be a running theme right now. It's the same on YouTube with their rules, obviously. They're vague as shit, and no one really knows what will violate them, and that's the whole point.
Well, that's the idea. If we don't know, we'll err on the side of caution and do nothing.
Or they can
a longer sentence as well. You know what's just been described? It means a longer sentence. If the victim can say their perception is this was because I was gay or this was because I was black, you'll get a longer sentence, much longer sentence. It's very serious, and it's completely subjective. There's no actual law in the normal practice of the law involved. No evidence, no proof. Completely subjective, and it's locking up people for a much longer time than they should have been.
We were talking about this before the show, and I said that it was the legal establishment of an aristocracy. Essentially, they have the legally enforceable discretion to lock up whatever peasant they feel like at any given time.
Right, and that's why it's so vague. So they can basically use it on anyone, and they don't have to explain why, because nobody really knows.
And yet there's certain people that are untouchable. You get the Diane Abbotts of this world going around saying all the rubbish she does. White people are the problem. And I've seen a lot of other people say that the white race is the problem. I mean, you go look at South Africa at the moment, what's going on over there. Right. And it seems like a massive, it's not just in Europe, it's all over the place. But it's an attack because I don't understand why they do it, although I sort of think I do, but I'm not going to say it here. there it is. But we're all being attacked. And you can't say anything. You can't defend yourself because the moment you even say anything, you're guilty of this, and this.
Look at that transsexual that was hired by Labour recently. The one who said,
that pile of joy.
But she resigned. She wasn't fired. She wasn't fired. She resigned.
What did she say?
She said that all white people are racist.
And there's nothing they can do about it. No matter how much they change, they'll always be racist. And you need to accept that. And once you've got over that, then you can come back and talk. Well, how's about what you've just spat at? Well, yeah, Corbyn loves it, doesn't it? Oh, that'll wind up the opposition. Let's get it in here. But I mean, if I'm racist, right, what the fuck, after just come out of your mouth, what does that make you? You're the inherently racist one. I'm the one that's got to say nothing about anything, and I'm still racist.
I think
that's what you said, isn't it? You are racist no matter what you do. So
nothing you can do about it. You'll always be a racist. Just accept what you are.
One of our parents is white. That's the thing that makes it funny. One of our parents is
the one she doesn't speak to.
That's like that. Probably, but there was like who was it? I forget it, but it was some sort of feminist who made a tweet going like misogynist rapists, and all they want to do is sexualize women and all that stuff, and it was like all men. Even your dad, and she replied with, "How dare you talk that way about my dad?"
Laurie Penny. That was Laurie Penny that said that. Aye.
Somebody the other day described a load of attributes about Islam and the way they are, right? But they didn't say it was about Islam. And somebody went, "Oh, that's the Nazis. That's just the way they are." I went, "Well, actually, no, it's about Islam, really." And they went, "Ooh, like that." But yeah, one group of people are allowed to say what they like. Do what they like, act how they like, fine, crack on. That's politically correct. We'll endorse that. Anybody else, different rules for you. And as you say, the law is ambiguous. It's like, well, we'll do that with him because he's on the right, or he's in the centre, or he's just saying stuff we don't like. And that one over there, who's as racist as fuck, but actually goes along with our way of thinking, yeah, we'll let that one go. And it's obvious. It's obvious to people that watch it. The average person on the street goes, that ain't right, and that ain't right. And they're too scared to say anything. So when somebody actually comes out and makes a video, like, because I don't give a shit. I mean, as long as I know in my heart I'm not being racist, that's good enough for me. All right, so I'll come out and say it, and they go, "Oh, thank God you're saying it. More people need to do it." Yeah, well, you all need to do it, actually, because when they control you, that's it. But the one key thing here is, once they take away your freedom of speech, they can take away everything else, because you can't say anything about it.
Yeah, that's an important point. And what is the? So you're saying basically that you have no written constitution, and I know that, but don't you have laws about reasonable doubt and evidence and that kind of stuff?
Yes, when it comes to hate speech.
So how can they have an exception for just one thing?
Yeah,
yes, it's England, mate.
It doesn't make any sense anymore.
That doesn't make any sense, but apparently they're doing it.
You know, there are groups who are allowed to do things and groups who aren't, and groups who are allowed to say things and groups who aren't. And you'll almost always find that the group who isn't is the white one. And there is an anti-white persecution. It is anti-white persecution. White people will be, we even have judges saying in court that white people should get longer sentences than non-white people for the same crime. We have now,
also, if you're white, you pay more to go to a certain political event, because if you're of a minority, you pay less.
Absolutely. That's what it's all about, attacking whites. And they're attacking us because Europe is supposed to belong to everybody. Everyone is supposed to be able to come and live here. And you must first weaken white people for that to happen. If we have no home, we'll have nothing to fight for. I know that, it sounds like a shocking thing to say, but it's true. And I think we all know it's true. This is an anti-white agenda, and it's all over the world. And South Africa is a pinnacle of it now.
The other day, because I live very close to Cheddar, and obviously I found out I was black overnight, which was quite a shock, really, because all my relatives are black after that, and I lost all my privilege overnight, and that burnt me right out until they disproved it. I got all my privilege back. But it's nice to be able to have all of that privilege to say, fuck all. You can't say a thing. I go to bed at night and say, today was a good day, I didn't get locked up.
The thing that I enjoy most, like most of my videos are just pointing out double standards. I like the whole, how's this okay for you, but it's not okay for us. and all that type of thing. And the thing that I found funny is white people have privilege and they're absolutely disgraceful and disgusting, and we should, have them step aside in their own countries and stuff like that. But when you point out about the farm murders in South Africa and their political party on stage chanting, "Kill the Boer, we're going to take
kill the farmer,
kill the farmer, let it shoot to kill, we're going to take their land without compensation." But see, if you bring that up, like, that is actual institutional racism. That's when all the far lefties are like, "Oh no, they're whiteies, they fucking deserve that shit."
You really hate your own skin, don't you, pal? You hate everything about yourself. You hate your country, you hate your heritage, you hate your skin colour.
Yeah.
I don't know, and you know, at that point, that's why I say to them, "But I love you.
So
I love your skin colour. I love you." Yeah.
I'd like to I'd just like to bring in Uzalu here. What happened to you after that shitstorm, after that thing in the park, the meetup?
Oh, well, I'm not sure if it's as interesting or important the story as the other people's here, but there was complaints that at the meetup that we hosted July last year,
Nobody was arrested though.
No. There weren't. There were complaints after the fact from, quite frankly, campaign propagandists on the internet. Not very popular ones either.
Right.
One in particular called Woolly Bumblebee, and one other very small channel called Thunderfoot, who no one's heard of. And there was,
two happy little creatures.
Yes. And there were complaints that we had held the event in proximity of a children's park, and that one or two people had climbed a climbing frame in the children's park. Now, it was a large open green with a small children's play area in one corner of it. Only one or two of us ever went in there, and we weren't bothering the kids. But people were saying that we were harassing parents, shouting things at them. It's they were just converting it to the narrative they thought was useful. It's a great study in ideological tribalism, I think, because that's really all it is. I'd like to say it's more complex than that, but I think that's all it was. Just they saw an opportunity to hurt the reputation of their opponents, and that's what they did. But other than that, it was a very successful event. I might host another one this year.
Right. But it was also picked up with the media, right?
I don't remember seeing it.
Okay. Well, I'm remembering wrong. It doesn't matter. But you actually got away with it anyway, is what we're saying, because this took place in the UK and nobody was arrested for hate speech. So there's that.
Even though we did it on the same day as the Gay Pride parade, and they shared the same park with us, and there wasn't any negative interaction. It was. There was actually one group of, I think, some sort of socialist or perhaps Antifa who was there, who were a bit mouthy with us. But a few of us sort of drove them away with, frankly, just politely arguing with them.
It's quite out of character for Antifa to be like that. That's fair.
Very, yeah.
Well, if that was
flags, unfortunately,
nobody would have a problem with them. That's what they were about.
Does anybody think all this loss of freedom of speech dates back to that rubbish that started out the 1930s Frankfurt School of ridiculousness, where they started pushing all their stupid ideas, and this is where we end up with today? You know, where right is left, left. Yeah. You know what I mean? Do you reckon that's what?
I was just thinking about this, and I muted myself for a bit, and I wrote this little thing out, which might be relevant to this conversation. So stop me if you want to. But the core problem, the way the situation arose, is the conversion of individualistic relative good nature and compassion among the population to a collectivist one, such that instead of favoring the individuals being victimized, enough people have been convinced that entire demographic groups can be either victims or perpetrators. The word racist has been co-opted to serve this perspective. What's happening is the subtle cultural equivalent of the manipulation of human nature and behavior in any given authoritarian socialist regime.
Right.
Yeah, and that's another thing. Claiming insult by, say, for instance, I've got a coloured mate, and we're always having a bit of banter, and he comes up to me and goes, "Oi, honky," right? That's fair. If you did that, I wouldn't care, right? And it's like somebody else taking offence on my behalf and then going to the police about it. Me and him are fine about it, but they're not. I mean, what is that? But that happens at the moment. So it's not just freedom of speech; it's gone beyond it. It's just crazy.
Well, that's offense by proxy, and yeah, it is quite common. It seems like we have a lot of white knights.
It's like nobody's insulted me lately. I'll have yours.
Yeah.
it's almost like, remember in 1984 where they sort of had their equivalent of the Hitler Youth, where the kids were brought up and raised to rat on their parents. Yeah. They've kind of like trained the populace to rat on everyone else.
Right.
That happened over in what's it called, during the Cold War. The kids were actually taught. Somebody told me this today. They were taught at school that if their parents said anything wrong, then you obviously tell the forces because they're guilty of wrong thing. I've got people messaging me at the moment, grandparents. Their kids come back and they say, and they might say blackboard or something like that. That's racism. And these kids just jump on them with loads of it. And I said, your job is to undo all this poison that they're getting at the moment, because otherwise we're going to have a generation of completely head-fucked idiots, right? Sorry about the swearing, but that's what we're going to have. We need a grandparents and the parents to say, what have you got taught today? Oh, we got taught that this is this. Well, actually all rubbish, all right? Please don't take all of this on board, and then reason with them. This is why. This is correct because of this. It's like, oh, well, socialism is a great idea. Well, it's great until you've tried it, and then it's shit. I mean, it's like communism. That's brilliant. Well, unless you're one of the 100 million people that died. You know, you got to tell these kids because
how did communism enter Britain? That seems almost unthinkable, and yet it's happening.
As I said, I think it got through the good nature. It was a subtle conversion from just the same sort of good nature that you'd expect from any Western person. Using the concept of racism, which people were very sensitive to, and still are a few decades ago, and have been for decades rather, to sort of gradually shift it to a Marxist way of looking at things, to a sort of dichotomized way of looking at things, victim and oppressor. And it's the foundational concept behind the most murderous ideologies that ever existed.
Right.
But things changed in the 50s here, didn't they? I mean, we were welcoming people around it. We welcomed in people from the West Indies in the 50s and stuff like that. Indians as well later on. And we were brought up to say, yeah, just look. They came over, they assimilated, they were great. You know, they were a useful part of the community and everybody loved them. Mostly everybody did. I mean, you always get the one.
You'll find that those are the ones that are the most staunch conservatives, by the way.
Yeah.
We don't like these newbies. They're fucking everything up for us.
And it does. But you're like, if ever you've got somebody that's got to say something against, say, for instance, somebody of colour, you get your coloured mate to get up and do it. Go on, son, get in there, because people are less likely to say anything to him. But as I said, we had loads of people come over here, 50s, 60s, 70s, and we're all part of, live and let live. And they weren't causing any bother, so there was no worry. So you would bring in, and we've got some fucking old age muppet at the moment that walks around with CCP or whatever it is, you know, that communist bollocks. And he comes into work with all of this and a hammer and sickle, and I'm like, this is the live and let live thing. It
just we have going to add to the body count.
Socialism's all good and fun until you and your friends are beating a cow to death in a field with bricks because you're fucking starving.
I'm a bit peckish. Yeah,
I couldn't believe with a bite. Someone told me that video. Oh, did you see what happened in Venezuela? And I went, bullshit, that happened. And then I seen the video and I went, holy fuck, that's how bad things have gotten there.
But Jesus have you seen how much the genuine population over there have lost weight on the whole? Because socialism is working so well over there. I mean, just the other day, because obviously I'm a lorry driver.
Epidemic.
Sorry?
Well, I'll tell you what, maybe I need to go there. But anyway, we couldn't get our truck. Yeah, so it's getting dumped. Anyway, but seriously, we couldn't get any food to the shops. So I took some pictures. And I said, what does this look like? 2 days of snow or socialism in Venezuela? And people had to work that one out. But that's how it is over there. Socialism doesn't work. They went, well, you haven't tried proper socialism.
What were you saying?
That was proper socialism.
What were you saying, Uzalu?
I think I just said that communism's a great weight loss routine.
Yeah.
Right.
See the thing, I know I shouldn't have laughed at this, right? But you know that my humour's dark as fuck, right? Obviously there's fucking...
A little bit.
Like, yeah, a little bit, yeah. Like, there's a famine and stuff like that. They're actually handing out leaflets training people how to breed rabbits so they have something to eat, you know, because they're not aware of something called rabbit starvation. But Maduro himself is on TV giving a great big speech about how the nation needs to chip in together. We all need to look out for each other. And during his speech, he pulls a burrito out of his drawer and starts munching it like in the Middle East.
Yeah, I see that. Bring on the hamper. But I tell you what's good is because Venezuela, once they come out with their rabbit cookbook and all the rest of it, in a few years' time, can pass that over to South Africa once all the farming's gone downhill. Just an idea, you know, spread the love and all that sort of stuff. But There you go.
It's interesting how much of a total unprecedented, or not unprecedented actually, but unmitigated failure Venezuela is, considering all the legs up they had, like the massive oil wealth.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they had all the opportunities to have a hugely successful country.
And for a while it wasn't so bad, but then it got more socialisty.
Yeah.
So,
holy shit.
Anyway.
So Anne-Marie, what kind of laws would you like to enact or repeal?
Well, repeal hate speech laws, but I think actually what we need, and I know that it's a big discussion and very complicated, but I think actually what we need is a written constitution which is supreme, a US-style constitution.
Do you think that's doable?
And well, I don't know. I mean, it's definitely complicated, but I think, we can't have a situation where we have transient MPs taking away fundamental rights. I think we have to have something in there that stops the MPs taking away our right to free speech with things like hate speech laws. And I think a supreme constitution, which guarantees our freedom of speech and other freedoms, is probably the best way forward for the future. To solidify and cement some freedoms in this country. I think we need a supreme.
Well, I would certainly agree. It's just you guys are so conservative. Usually, you don't want to change the way
anything can change.
Countries run, right?
The problem is if we have this constitution and we have an amendment for free speech, what it will say is free speech but no hate speech, and then we're just back to square one.
Well,
we'd have to sort that out.
We can't be doing anything like that now.
It's my right to offend anybody I like.
No, so it's the EU Article 10 is the one that apparently protects free speech, and the Section 1 of Article 10 does say every person should be free from persecution, etc., over their opinions, and has the right to express himself, blah blah blah. And then Section 2 just goes, but and then it's all this super vague shit again, where they say, yeah, you kind of have free speech, but we can take it away completely for all of these vague reasons, which we're not going to define.
Criticising the European Union, indeed, that's another thing that they were trying to stamp out.
The European Union, man. Fuck them.
I love it. I mean, I'm right up the European Union, right up there. But I can't wait for it to fall in on its tits, because it's going to. Because, I mean, you've got Poland. Well done, Poland. You've got Italy going to go its own way. You've got us, eventually. I mean, we'll be out, I hope. But yeah, so it's going to fall apart, the European Union. It will collapse, and fucking happy days. I'll be on the piss that day, I can tell you.
No.
But
I'm just going to read some comment for a second. So first of all, I'm going to take care of this with Joshua Smith, who says, how dare you disrespect the Kumite?
The what? Has anyone ever heard of that? I've never heard of that.
You haven't, or you're sarcastic?
I'm being demeaning.
Okay. Well, if we were to respect their broadcast times, there would never be any other live streams ever on YouTube again, except theirs. So,
I think I accidentally went on their show once, actually.
Accidentally, okay.
Yeah.
Vlad Drax
took a wrong turn in.
Vlad Drax says, only reason to send BF to prison is to make them martyrs to their mindless Christian followers. Just another Middle Death Eastern cult inside job. I don't know what that means, I must say.
He's talking shit.
Okay. I have no idea. Paul Chowder says, great lineup, Undoomed. Thank you. Crossers says, the UK needs a written constitution to protect free speech. Exactly. That's what we have agreed to, I think. We're going to make it
politicians to serve its people. Not the politicians are there to run the people, and the people are all just an inconvenience. The politicians are there to serve the people, and the politicians should know that. And at the moment, what we've got is a group of people up there that don't think like that.
It seems today that the people are supposed to serve the state. That's where we're heading.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which is why Anne-Marie Waters doesn't fit in, because she doesn't think like that. So it's like she's a threat to the society that we've built up, this comfy little whatever. So that's why you don't get any airtime, which is why that nothing, you don't hear anything about you, which is why obviously you're here. But things are changing, which is why they're trying to shut us down on social media, because we're starting to talk about stuff like this, for Britain, the problems and stuff. So yeah. Sorry, I just went off on one there.
Yeah, you have a tendency of doing that.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm terrible.
So
Too much time on the truck.
no worries. Yeah. So, but yeah, I'm really fascinated by this idea of having a constitution in Britain. But I just don't know. Would you guys actually make that change? It seems that your what do you call your unwritten constitution? You have a word for it, right?
Is it common law?
Common law.
Yeah, I think that's the term. I'm not 100% sure, but I think it is.
It is called an unwritten constitution.
Oh, that's what you call it? Oh, okay.
Yeah. Studying law, that's pretty much what it's called. It doesn't necessarily have a name, but
okay.
That's part of it, yeah.
Because you hear a lot about it, so it just seems like that's really embedded in your culture, that's the way you do business. So I'm just curious if it's really realistic to expect you to get a constitution.
I think if we seek it in order to preserve traditional British values, you can perhaps persuade the public that way, which is of course what it would do. If I was to write a British constitution, I would base it on the Magna Carta, for example. Which is obviously an old British document. So if you can introduce it to a conservative mind as something that is necessary to stop the progressives destroying, old British liberties, then they may accept it that way. That's what I would hope. I certainly would.
Right.
I don't think it'd be hard either. I don't think it'd be too hard to convince people.
No, I don't.
Yeah, the way things are going, more and more people want it. They really want a constitution. I think people would welcome that kind of change at this point.
Yeah, it seems like you need it.
Yeah.
It's like you can see a future for yourself under that.
Yeah. Give me hope. I know it sounds cheesy, but us actually getting something like that would give me hope, right? I know that's gay. Call me gay if you want, right? But it would actually give me hope in my country if we got something like that.
Yeah, just
common
sense.
Without a roadmap like that, it seems like we're heading down a really dark path.
Yeah, you've only got to look at Europe for that. But if we had common sense values, a constitution like that, which people could turn to and quote, because at the moment you've got the vagueness. Well, actually, this is our constitution, and you are not being constitutional. You're not going by this. You're not going by that. So up yours, whatever. You don't have to put it like that, but. And yeah, people could go back to this. People would actually say, we have a future because if we stick to this, things will be okay. But at the moment, you've got these nutters coming up through the ranks at the moment that want to change our way of life completely. And you've got older people, older than me, who don't want this to happen. And if somebody come along and said, well, we'll have a little change, but it'll be just like a constitution and you can go on about your day and we're going to keep everything that you hold dear, I'd vote for it tomorrow.
Well, vote for Britain then.
We are. Have you not seen the videos, woman?
I have. Thank you.
God. Yeah, thanks. The comments are good though. They really love you, don't they? That's nice.
Yeah. So I guess you're being painted as the Antichrist and Hitler and all that, right?
Oh, every day. I can't believe someone has made a petition against my book. That has actually surprised me. But yeah, I'm the devil incarnate. The devil incarnate.
Yeah. Well, I don't really see what is the purpose of all the hyperbole? How do they expect that to gain them?
They don't want people to listen to me, and this is why they get my events shut down. It's not necessarily about me speaking; it's about people listening. They don't want people to be able to listen to me because they know perfectly well that many people will agree with me, and they can't take that risk. So that's why they only have their own views aired. They think they have every right to have their own views aired because they're so arrogant that they think they have the right to dismiss the rest of us as inferior to them, morally inferior to them. This is really how they think. And they think they have absolutely every right on their own skewed moral grounds to shut down everyone they don't agree with, because they know that people will listen, and that's what they want.
Yeah, and it's really funny because obviously politics moves in waves, and right now they're having some nice backwind, whatever. And if they were to be successful to eradicate their hate speech or basically forbid dissenting thought, then what makes them think that they're not going to be the next person a government comes for?
Well, they
They're too
are
arrogant.
on each other. You can see them turning on each other now. You know, there's feminists no platforming other feminists. They're already doing it. It's happening within the Labour Party, where they're trying to no platform each other. You've got this transgender thing, trying to no platform women who don't accept this transgender thing. They're already turning on each other. It's inevitable that they will destroy.
This is something I wanted to ask, actually, because I think, Anne, it might benefit you to be able to give this specific reassurance to people who might want to vote for you. As much as I don't think this necessarily applies to anyone here, I think it's beneficial for people who advocate free speech to demonstrate that they are not just advocating it because they don't currently have it. That it's conceivable that there might be some authoritarians who would advocate free speech so that they can get into the position of power that they can suppress the free speech of their opponents. I think it might be beneficial for you and possibly everyone else to explain the grounding conceptual foundation of why they support it, preferably concisely, because I know it's a big topic.
Well, I'll start on it. Look, we cannot have. I'm a Democrat. We cannot have a democracy unless people are free to speak. If the candidate isn't free to express themselves freely and to put forward their ideas freely, and the voter not free to listen, then you have no democracy. And it's the backbone of democracy. But there's the sort of philosophical issue on it is who is the decider on who can and can't speak, and from where do they derive their authority? They can't. It's bullying. It's intimidation. And it's silencing of opponents, and they've got from where does anyone derive that authority to decide who can speak and what they can say? That's the big issue, and there is no answer to it. There is no one with that authority. I think Pat Condell said it was like taxing air. Curbing free speech is like taxing air. Nobody has the right to do it. We all have to be able to speak. For moral reasons, for political reasons, we simply can't function as free people if we're not allowed to speak. It's as simple as that.
Well, that's a good way of putting it. Just
if you let the opposition speak and they're ridiculous,
Absolutely.
You haven't got to sell yourself, have you? If the opposition is saying absolute rubbish, if you come out with common sense and you've both got free speech, you're a winner, aren't you?
That's another reason for the left-wing silence in us, because they have got nothing but rubbish. And they know that what we're saying is true and observably true. So they have to shut down the debate because we'll destroy them with facts.
Yeah, that's well known. Deplatforming is the death throes of any ideology, because anytime the far left have met any of us in debates, I'm just a shitlord and I beat them. Right, man? And I'm just a guy that really, really enjoys drugs and memes. And for some reason,
I just drive a lorry.
Beat them in debates. No, but that's the thing, though. It's like anytime they've tried to face us in debate, we've absolutely annihilated them. And instead of just holding their hands up and going, okay, you know what, maybe this isn't the path we should go down, they deplatform instead and do it through violence and intimidation. Even though they think that's a victory, it's a sign that they're losing and they know they're going to lose, so they're panicking about it now.
If they're winning the argument, they're like, he's an idiot, blah, 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 but let him speak because we're looking better. If you start winning the argument, racist or xenophobe, and that's it. They just sing those things. You're like, I must be winning again then. But they're a fucking joke.
If they call you that, then that's better than them actually rushing this stage and trying to tear you off and beat people up.
I think
we've been seeing now.
There is a danger of convincing ourselves that we're right and they're obviously wrong. In saying that they know that they're losing and they're just trying to suppress us and imposing them as just tribal. I think there's more psychology to it than that. I think they have worked themselves into this fucking moral cul-de-sac of thought, whereby they have no choice if they want to be any sort of semblance of good people in the perception of their peers and of their ideology to do what they do. It's not purely tribal, I don't think. For some of them, perhaps. Some of them are just activists and propagandists. But you can't get an ideology with any number of people, more than a handful, that doesn't have actually convincing points. They do convince some people, and that doesn't make them any less stupid. But some people are doing this for moral reasons, and if we want to be more effective, it might be worth finding a way to argue directly against that, rather than just being a more powerful opposition tribe. But both will work eventually.
Right. Yeah, it's really Fuck, I forgot my train of thought. Someone say something smart.
Shit, I can't do that.
Chicken wing should always have bones.
Gas the elves. There you go.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Going downhill.
Yeah, but that's. I was just going to interject that I'm not saying that I'm always right. You know, everyone should be aware of that fact that they could be wrong, but the only thing that is objectively right is that everyone gets to have their say. You know, everyone can be wrong sometimes. That's how I eventually get to right. But you should be able to say it. That way we can sort of weigh our ideas and you know, make progress.
But isn't that the purpose of debate? Because the best ideas will always come through.
Well,
sure.
There's a tendency towards that, yeah. But rhetoric and language play a huge role.
Of course. And there's no guarantee that that'll happen, but at least if you can say it, you're not just doomed to sit at home and mope.
Yeah, there's a lot of doubt over the effectiveness of the free marketplace of ideas, and it's not unworthy of being said. But the best way of thinking of it is an ideal. Is that if we go all the way with proper involvement in the free marketplace of ideas, we use the right dedication to these concepts like freedom of speech and objectivity and evidence and all these good things, obvious things, then the free marketplace of ideas becomes more and more powerful to the point that good ideas will become more and more likely to spread. Right. So it's you can't abrogate the responsibility you have to participate properly in the free marketplace of ideas by denouncing its existence. It's up to all of us to do it properly so that we can use freedom of speech well to build the best society, because there's no way to have a free society without freedom of speech. It's the cornerstone of it. It's the internal messaging system of the cell. You can't fix problems without that free communication.
Indeed. I think that is the absolute cornerstone of a working society. I think you can't take that away.
Sorry. See if you look all the way throughout history, any government that has came after free speech has never, ever done so for honest reasons, ever.
No.
Right? And one of the best ways to get laws passed is to make the people think that they want them, which is why everyone starts calling the far left useful idiots, because for some reason, any time you give the government 1% of control over anything, the government will do everything it can to make sure that that's 100% a control. So the thing that surprises me about the far left is that they want these laws in place because they think that one day these exact same laws aren't going to be used against them.
Dumb enough to think it affects other people, not them.
Yeah, it'll eventually affect them one day. It's quite funny how the far left, who are supposed to be anti-establishment, want the establishment to have more power. I don't get that.
Yeah, the Antifa are extremely contradictory in that sense. They're clearly, at least largely, with the establishment, but they claim to be completely against it.
Yeah,
right.
They're against fascism, but they're the empowerment of a fascist bloody movement, aren't they?
They are the establishment now. That's why they're pro-establishment now.
That's the thing that shocked me. Like, remember the whole Red Scare in America? Can you imagine if Antifa were like back in the 70s and 80s running around and doing the stuff that we're doing now? The CIA would have them black bagged and shipped off to the equivalent of Guantanamo.
They wouldn't have been anywhere, would they? They'd have been on a holiday camp somewhere else. Yeah,
man, like people were getting arrested left, right, and centre for being Russian spies. So, like, what the fuck happened, man? The CIA is slipping.
Yeah. You've only got to say, I fancy visiting Russia one day, and you got shoved into protective, whatever it was. But these Muppets are going around holding that flag now.
Yeah.
It's a joke. It's a joke.
It's crazy.
There's a problem with calling Antifa fascists, though. I know what you're doing. That's fine, but I think it's worth noting that calling them fascists decreases the power of just how bad socialism is. I mean, we should probably consider socialism to be a bit worse than fascism.
Well,
luckily I've not had to live under it.
They're on the same level.
At least, yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean they're the worst kinds of socialists. Or, well, maybe not quite, but they're among the worst kinds of socialists, and that's just as bad, if not worse, than the worst kinds of fascists. The equivalent level of fascism.
Well, if you count, if the level of murder is any indication, then they're certainly worse.
It's not just that. It's the process by which the murder occurs. I mean, I was talking about this recently. Obviously, it's very controversial. Maybe I shouldn't, just in the interest of the topic. But tell me if you want me to stop. But I think the fact that socialism commits accidental genocides is a massive indictment upon the ideology that causes that. I mean, what other ideology has killed dozens of millions of people through the application of its ideology and not intending to kill those people?
Are you talking about lysenkovism or?
Lysenkovism deny the Holodomor. Like the far left actually deny the Holodomor ever happened.
Yeah, I've heard that, and it's like, yeah, okay, then
I'm pretty sure there's another type of group that denies something else that begins with hollow, but you know, like
hollybobs. Yeah, I've heard about them.
The horseshoe theory.
The horseshoe theory is absolutely true from a centrist perspective, and it's still useful from that perspective. But I can understand why the extremes try to, denounce it.
But when we're talking about lying, somebody just posted here, like the fact that they're trying to say that feminism is compatible with Islam. Can somebody help me out here? Because I'm not seeing the connection.
Lenin was wrong. The final battle between communism and Islam, they're going to join forces. It's not a battle.
I think you'll find that being able to beat the absolute shit out of your wife because she flashed a bit of ankle is very, very empowering to women.
It's liberating. Yeah. Come here, woman. Let me put upon you some love. Yeah. Unbelievable.
Holy shit.
I love you, so I'll hit you. Can't get that in my head. You know, anybody who'd love their missus shouldn't even put their hand anywhere near them.
But maybe because feminists actually want to live under a patriarchy and a rape culture. Maybe that's why it's compatible with Islam.
What you mean, the ones that
I think maybe that's their kink. They just want the man to be in control.
Yeah,
I believe there's two types of feminists.
Islamists instead.
You've got feminists that are clever and they believed in the first part of the feminism movement and all the rest of it. And then you've got fourth wave feminism that believes air conditioning is sexist. I think we have a problem there. But somewhere in between, feminism was useful. Okay, I'm not against feminism.
Well,
that's the problem. Feminism's still associated with being good. People still have that association. Feminism equals good. At one point, it absolutely was good. Women having the right to vote, women having the right to choose whether or not they wanted to work or be stay-at-home mothers. Like that whole right to choose, that was freedom.
Sure.
Yeah, because that worked so well, didn't it? Here's the thing. Back in the old days, we used to be able to afford, on a man's wages, right, to be able to pay for the family. And then what they tell the woman is it's a good idea that if you want to go out and work, you go out and work, which is fine, crack on. And then it got to the stage where she had to stay out and work. She couldn't stay home and raise her kids because, well, they reduced everybody's fucking wages and now we're all skin, right? Now, whether this was entirely feminism or whatever, but now there are women out there that would like to be traditional and stay at home and raise a family and all the rest of it. They can't do it. They've not got the money. So was that feminism that did that?
Maybe and then they looked at the state.
Yeah, there's another subject. I'm not getting on that. I'm going to run away from that one.
All right. So I don't know. What is your take on that, Anne-Marie?
Which bit?
I guess the whole feminism bit.
Which bit? I do. Of course, feminism today is crazy. It's not feminism anymore. It's not about women anymore. It's been like many causes and many ideology and ideas been hijacked entirely by the left, and they've turned it to their own advantage. They've done it with many different things. I'm a woman. Obviously, I'm glad of the real feminists that went before me. Mm-hmm. But I don't think feminism now is about women anymore. I think it's about attacking men. I think there's an element of revenge in it for some of these feminists. And I think it's the same with the black-white, the anti-white thing that's happening now isn't about racial equality. It's about revenge against whites for perceived crimes or actual crimes. And this is the same. It's revenge against men. For things that happened in history, and it's not actually about equal rights between men and women, which it should be. Mm-hmm. I denounce third wave feminism. I didn't know there was a fourth wave. That's a bit tragic.
It's about as wrong as you could possibly get. It's brilliant.
They're not even sure themselves if it's the fourth or the third wave. So
I think it's possible
Yeah,
I mean, it's possible that you could doubt. I mean, someone said earlier that people associate feminism being good. I think you said Dankula, but I think that maybe even still pervades with people who are anti-feminist. Perhaps feminism never was good. Women's rights advocacy, fine, that's obvious. That's just liberalism. But feminism perhaps did the same thing that is currently being done all the time. It found a sympathetic class of people who could be used to manipulate those who were perceived as having power, the perceived oppressors, to grant additional power to those victims unduly. I mean, as I mentioned earlier, men back when women were trying to get the vote had to have the draft to have the vote. Women got the vote without the draft, and that persists today.
That's clever.
Sorry. Do you have to go to war to have a vote? Is that the only legitimate way a person has a right to vote? Is if they go to war?
Not necessarily, but who goes to war?
Is that the only thing people contribute to society in order to earn the right to vote?
No, but it is the only way that the state can force massive numbers of people to die. And who votes for these wars? Everyone, half of which are women who will never go to war.
Women die in wars as well.
Not as many as men. A lot of women will die at home.
If you're arguing that you have to go to war to have a vote, then I profoundly disagree. People contribute.
I don't think that's the only possible precondition, but it is a valid one, because if people are going to vote for or against wars, and half the population has no skin or almost no skin in the game, or less skin in the game.
Come on. Women have no skin in the game in war. You think women don't suffer in war?
Well, women weren't conscripted when they didn't have the vote. Women weren't conscripted.
Women. My nan was on the front line.
The fact that they lose their husbands and their sons, and that their houses get blown up.
The fact is, during World War II, all the factories in World War II, it was women. All of them.
Yes, and all the tens of thousands of people suffering from trench foot and dying in the Somme for months and months on end were men. I would rather be in the factory.
I'll tell you what, mate, when you're putting ammunition together, right, you might change your mind on that one. And all the way we were sticking all the shells together.
Ammunition is taking you apart.
Anne-Marie said that.
Yeah, well, ammunition was taking them apart as well. And then by night, they get bombed.
Here's the problem with it as well. The problem with it as well is... I know everyone's probably not going to like this opinion, but women aren't exactly built for war, though, are they? They're not exactly built for war.
Fighting. You say women don't suffer in wars. That's ridiculous.
Yes, but you said
absolutely do.
You said exactly what Hillary Clinton said. You said that women suffer because they lose their husbands and their sons. I'm sorry, but the men were losing their lives.
Still paying a price for war.
Not as high a price as the men were.
It's not just about the victimhood either. It's sacrifice.
Okay.
I think it's okay. We all agree on the suffering. We all agree on the suffering. It's just obviously there's different varying degrees of the suffering.
So if men don't actually go to the front line, they shouldn't vote either. You only get to vote if you actually go to the front line.
What if they're conscripted? What if they're conscripted? What if the government owns their body and tells them and can force them to fight, kill, and die against their will?
The people who make this argument about women not being, women shouldn't vote unless they're able to be conscripted, won't argue.
Well, that's what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that was the precondition for men voting, but women got it without.
What about we bring back conscription for everybody, man and women? Because I tell you what.
How about for nobody?
Because, no. Here's the idea about conscription. If you've been brought up badly, right, you get sent into for 2 years in there, right, and they knock all the edges off you. They actually do quite a good job. I mean, assumably you don't go to war, hopefully.
Women were given the vote without any obligation. Women were given the vote. Women were given the vote without an obligation. Men never had that. Men had to get conscripted, and the government forced them to fight, kill, and die in war against their will. Women never had that. Women never had any obligation for the vote at all. None at all.
This equality thing, let's do it properly. Men and boys are getting left behind. I could go on, but Undoomed wants to move on. So let's.
No. I don't want to move on. I just wanted to interject a question here before I'm Dave Rubin or something. Aren't we all, like all countries, pretty much moving to the point where conscription, or whether you have that or not, will include women, no matter what we do?
I think it'd be a good idea because there's women that want to do it as well.
Yeah, I mean, aren't you pretty close to doing that? It feels like most countries are pretty close to doing that anyway, right?
I don't know where we are.
I think everyone has a duty to serve the country if the country needs it.
Right.
They might not serve it in exactly the same way, but they all have a duty to serve it.
Right. So
Yeah, I mean, back in the Second World War, my nan drove people around. She drove big vehicles and moved armaments around, and she was up near the front line. So, but she wanted to do that. I mean, I don't know. I think she would have probably pushed in that direction, but that was her, right? However, I do believe that women are as useful in the war as any bloke. I mean,
like that's what I was touching on earlier. Is the fact that obviously, in order for the war to happen, you need people in factories and stuff like that. You need people to actually tend to the home country and tend to the children that are like left behind because they could be affected by the war. Men, you know, we are bigger, we are stronger, like we are more built for combat. Even the way the men's bodies and everything designed were built for combat. Women,
but you look at those female pilots. You've got female pilots that do a great job of bombing the shit out of the opposition.
No, if a woman is capable, then and she wants to do that, then I'm absolutely fine with it. But as far as the men go, you know, war is kind of our job, isn't it? That's just kind of like the way that it's been. But the fact is, people, in order for a war to be successful, you need people to man the factories, and it's a case of who would you rather have on the front line, men or women?
Well, I mean, you could be conscripted to do factory work, right?
Men who wanted to fight. That's how I want on the front line, not ones who don't want to fight.
Yeah, no, that's
against the will. I don't want them there.
I'm against conscription. I'm against conscription. I would rather obviously war never happened.
Aye, of course.
Yeah, definitely.
We can all agree on that.
During World War II,
I think we should look at the figures of the amount. We should look at the figures, the amount of Muslim people that have left this country to go and fight for ISIS, and the amount of recent Muslim people that have joined up to join the British Army. That's an interesting figure. Awkward figure, obviously, but it's an interesting one. They just try and get us back off this subject because this feminism thing's getting a bit divisive. just running away here a little bit, just shitting myself and off.
Well, it's good that it's getting divisive because we were told earlier that this would be an echo chamber.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we're all falling out quite well amongst ourselves. There's no problem there.
Yeah. Nothing wrong.
Divisive. I was hoping to find some way to cause some fission.
Yeah, that's good. Good. It's fucking please go on.
So Anne, you are a women's rights advocate. You say that you're a feminist, and that's great.
I'm a woman.
I'm a women's rights
I'm a woman with a happy brain will advocate for her own rights.
Yes, that's great. Do you also advocate for men's rights to the same extent?
Okay, I believe that men and women should have the same rights, and I've never. If you look at any of my history, you won't hear me say that men and women are exactly the same, but they are both necessary. They both bring necessary contributions to life, and therefore should have the same basic civil rights. That's always been my position, and I'll stand by it.
That's grand. I think we agree on that. So we both call ourselves WRAs and MRAs.
Yeah, I just call myself a Democrat and a person who believes in civil rights.
Yeah, isn't that just Western civilization?
Common sense. Western civilization, if you remove the delusion.
That's common sense and rationality.
Yeah.
That's what that is.
That got us through a few wars, that did. Sorry. Sorry about that. Anyway,
yeah. No worries.
But yeah, I mean, it's good that we're all arguing amongst ourselves because at least when the lefties are watching us, they're going, "Oh, there's a bit of division there."
Oh, that doesn't matter. That doesn't matter with any of them, man. I get called a racist like 20 times before I've even had my fucking cornflakes, man. Like
the fact that your headphone is your microphone's pointing up, that makes you some sort of ist. You know, they're pick holes in no matter what you do.
No, my microphone's here on the desk. Man.
Oh right, so you're just picking up, are you, off the old theme of there?
I'll only listen. I'll only listen through this because I never wear it on this ear because I'm deaf in this ear as well. So
that'll do it. Yeah,
that's why I kind of just look like a bit of a spurg whenever I'm on stream.
Yeah. So what is the worst thing? Because we'll get back to the freedom of speech here. What is the worst ism or whatever that you've been called for just talking sense? Yeah,
I get called a transphobe.
We all get called. Did you?
I've been called a transphobe a good few times.
I haven't been called a misogynist yet, but I have a feeling that might change after this stream. Hey, you've earned your stripes. There you go.
Can I ask Anne-Marie a question? Somebody in the chat is asking a question. I think it's quite interesting. It's Death Networks. He says, ask Anne if she'd rather have 50-50 male-female MPs or 1991 competent MPs, either gender?
I'd rather have where we have the best people for the job. But you have to be realistic as well, and realize that if you have a place that's entirely run by men who don't, not just men, but men who don't want women, then women are going to struggle to get in. It's a complicated issue, but on balance, definitely, I would want the best people for the job.
Right, and it has to be.
That's a Family Fortune's top answer there. That was
yeah, but I was going to say that there has to be like a balance also. Okay, we got a bad echo.
It's Sam, I think. And I think you're echoing. Yeah,
me?
I can hear myself. Yeah. Hello, stream. That's two of me. Your worst nightmare.
Let's see. Is it gone now?
Yeah, she's muted herself.
I'm muted. Yeah. Let's see if is it gone now?
It's muted. I think Hangouts is trying to remove it itself. Maybe not doing a great job.
Okay, let's mute her again. Yeah, and can you just reload your page in
Annie, you playing through speakers? She's muted right now and she's trying to talk.
Quite a bit.
There we go.
Well, now that she's gone, we can talk shit about her.
See if she comes back there.
Can anybody hear me? Because I muted myself.
Can hear you.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Excellent.
So I'll do some super chats real quick. Hey, Mitch says, hey, BitConnect. Okay. Tuna Sandwich says, love you, Dankula. Fight on, brother. Free speech.
Hey, cheers, man.
The crazy Kitsuna says, always beware of anyone arguing facts or trying to silence someone. They are trying to sell you bullshit that only benefits them.
What?
The Red Devil.
Sorry, did I hear that the wrong?
Sorry. The Red Devil says, where are the free speech warriors when the president says he wants to change libel laws to silence criticism of him?
Well, he didn't, did he? It was to hold the press accountable for what they say. It wasn't to silence them, so that they can't just get away with telling lies.
Well, I
so
mean,
it wasn't actually to silence them.
He hasn't really put forth any legislation to be before Congress anyhow, so I guess we'll deal with that when that happens. Russian trolls are hardcore, from Robert 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever. Mr. M.
Is he working his way up to be a bot?
Yeah.
Sorry.
I think so. Mr. M says, keep up the good work, my friends. Also, I would love to see more about those chicken wings. Very important issue. All right. We're up to speed with the comments. All right.
So how are you getting on with your policy now? Because you were working on, your manifesto. Is that all done and dusted now?
Well, no, we've put out basic principles on the website, but there are a lot of decisions that need to be made by the party members. Like an executive policy on immigration, we want to put a couple of options to the members to vote on. Also on the electoral system, also on other matters like an English Parliament. People are interested in that, so I want to put that to the vote of the members to see what our policy should be. And the Constitution. My own proposal would be a written Constitution, but we'll ask the members to vote on it.
Also, I don't know if this is a rumor, so you might better help out. There were a load of people who were thinking about defecting from UKIP to come to yourself as soon as your party's been agreed. That's what I thought was the case, and it's the better part of UKIP, isn't it?
Well, there are certainly people who are waiting for the Electoral Commission to come over. Yeah.
Brilliant. Yeah, because people are asking, I'm like, this is the case. It's just, at the moment, they're trying to ruin the paperwork for you as much as possible, drag it out, slow things up, because they hope you go away, because they're stupid, right?
Lose momentum.
Yeah, it's not going to happen because there's so many people at the moment coming and talking to people like yourself and everybody else that it's going to happen. But eventually, when they get the hang of it, these other people will go, well, it's now a political party proper. we can then pile over there and work can be done. And I think as soon as that happens, then you'll have things will start leaping ahead, because obviously people can't get behind you or there's a lot of people feel they can't get behind you until this paperwork's done.
Yeah.
But as you say, it should have been done this week, so it can't be that long.
It should have been done 2 or 3 months ago.
Yeah, bless them.
Yeah.
When it's over, it'll be over, and then we can crack on.
I bet if it was a slow self-assessment, you'd have already got the paperwork through on that one, and they'd have fined you for it. So, yeah. That's just unbelievable, isn't it?
So the things you had under policies on your website, is that a good indication?
Yeah. I mean, these are statements of principle. Yeah.
Right. Because they were pretty reasonable. There was nothing really that extreme there.
Well, I don't think I say is, I don't think anything I say is extreme. I might say it in a way that sounds extreme, but only because the truth sounds extreme.
Yeah.
We're so used to not hearing the truth. We're so used to people pussyfooting around that when someone comes out and just says it like it is, people are shocked and they think it's almost.
Well, if I may, far be it from me to believe what is written on your Wikipedia page, but they said something about you advocating for deporting large numbers of Muslims.
I think people should be deported if they're non-British citizen and they commit a violent offence, in which I include things like FGM, for example. I think people should be deported for it. Yes.
That's far more reasonable than Wikipedia. That's far more reasonable than Wikipedia presented. So well done. I actually agree with that as well.
Yeah. Here's the thing. Right, we had 500 people get lost in not so long back, but the problem was you send them to prison for a problem, whatever they've done. So it could be rape or all sorts of crime, right? And then in between the time that you're going to sling them out of the country, you say, right, you've come out of prison. If you could just report back to us, that'd be awfully kind, because obviously you can't stay in our country anymore. And they're going to go, do you know what, I'll just do that because that's a fucking cracking idea. Or I'll go the other end of the country. So
that'll happen.
Well, the thing they keep forgetting as well is the fact that, see, if they send Muslims to prisons that are full of radicalized Muslims, and they're going to be hanging around all day with these radicalized Muslims, what do you think's going to happen?
I went to prison because I was bad once, right? When I was a lot younger, and it's in 1999 that they started changing. But they have a thing now where you either join Islam, or you can get the shit kicked out of you, or you can pay a fine. But that might not always be enough. So I know a guy, he was the most simple creature in the world. He committed some violent crime because he's not the most switched on. He's not a friend. He's somebody I know of. He got sent there. Next thing, he's come out. He's got a Quran in one hand, a stupid fucking beard on their face, right? And he's praying all day long. They indoctrinated a simple bloke who's also physically handy, right? What better soldier for Allah could you ask for? An idiot who's white, radicalized, hard as nails, right? And that place there is a training shop for it.
But that's that's the problem with all prisons. They are crime schools, basically, in one way.
Yeah, but it's funny enough, when I came out of there, right, they said to me, oh, well, you had some more community service to do, but we won't send you on that because you might be corrupted. What? I've just been in prison, you fucking idiot. But prison should be, and this is another thing I want to get on, should be a lot more of a punishment. Prison's only a threat until you go there. Once you go there and you realise, and I was in an old place, once you realise how cushy it is, there were people that wanted to come back because it was better than their home life. We need to change that. It's not a reward.
How is it cushy?
Right. Here's the thing. I was where I was a local place, and it was a 250-year-old. They literally only just had toilets put in themselves. God bless. But you were banged up 23 hours a day. But where's the punishment? If you like reading or you can sleep, you're not really getting punished. If you've come from a family that's so abusive that you didn't have food on the table very often, or your old man hit you around, or you had nothing to look forward to on the outside at all. But if you got locked up, half of your idiot mates were in there, you had 3 meals a day, you had a roof over your head, and nowadays you get a PlayStation and stuff like that. It's better than any life they ever had on the outside.
Yeah,
and
but
this is
no
wrong.
pussy in prison.
Well, no, but there's a lot of willing people apparently. Now, I will have you know this, that it was nothing like they said so in the book. It was single showers, very disappointing. All right, but anyway, I would simply say this. And this was a long time ago, but it needs to be looked at. That's one of the first things we need to look at. Prison needs to be a punishment. It's not.
Well, the thing is, the condition of prison is effectively boredom torture. It's the only form of torture that society deems to be
not
acceptable.
if you can sleep 16 hours a day, mate, which I could.
I'm
right?
just talking about
There's a lot of people like that. So you do your exercises.
If you want to go further than just boredom torture, you're going to go into realms of torture that are not accepted by society, and probably with good reason too. So I don't know how much.
In the old days, we used to have work parties. So you would actually teach them how to do something while get them out of the place and work the arse off them.
Yeah, rehabilitation is not
and when they came out,
and sometimes they're not compatible.
It's funny. But at the moment, what do we have? If you're a good boy and you don't play up, you get your PlayStation. I don't have a PlayStation.
Do they actually have?
I love a PlayStation. I can't afford a PlayStation. I don't have a PlayStation.
Have PlayStations in prison?
Yes, yeah, definitely.
What in their cell?
In their cells, and what it is if you behave yourself, you keep hold of it. If you play up, then you lose that privilege.
Oh, that's.
Anders Breivik, for fuck's sake, has a PlayStation. I mean, he's not in Britain, obviously.
He's not in Britain.
I know he's not in Britain, but you know what I mean? He's like, oh, well done, go out and kill a load of people. But what I'm saying is, in England, it's not strong enough. Yeah, he's dead good on Minecraft or whatever. But I've got to be serious about it.
Oh, God.
Always lands on the island. The point I was trying to make here, right, is you get a load of these people that are sent down and they're of a certain religion. I'm not going to go too far into it. They meet up with all their mates. They're protected. They're living the life in there that it's not the life of royalty, but it's not as bad as it should be, is what I'm saying. And also, they're allowed to run the wing. How's that? How should that be allowed? It's wrong. We need to be looking at stuff like this.
Well, the better solution ultimately is outside of the prison system is to carefully craft your society such that you don't have systems that flow. Start
from a young age. Respect your elders. Respect authority.
No, that's half the story.
That would be good.
That's half the story.
What we're talking about is a lot of kids nowadays that have never had any discipline in their life. They've never been told no to because it was just too much hard work. Oh, I have what you want. Oh, yeah, come play PlayStation. I'll get you another game. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but what's the underlying problem behind that?
Shit,
I've said it before in the past, but I think the Western world, as much as this is ultimately because of a good thing, is suffering from a extended period of a lack of existential adversity. We haven't had an existential threat like a war, and again, it's a good thing we haven't, but we are suffering from that. We're becoming more bourgeoisie.
You don't need a war, right, to respect your elders. I mean, when you look at some of these Asian cultures, right, and I mean Asian as in, like, you know, over that end of the world, not the Korean Asian, right? These people are bred from a young age to respect what you're taught, respect your culture, respect your country.
And there are big problems with that too. There are big problems with that too on the other side. It's a more collectivist society.
Happy medium. Yeah, well, you know, something in the middle. We haven't got anything like that over here. We got people that there's no.
Also.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But at the moment, there's like people that think they can go out and do whatever, and that's not good. And we need to teach our kids this. I mean, you look at Antifa for an example. Nobody's ever gone up against them. They've been allowed to run wild all half of their life. And the first time they come up to something like a Sargon Akkad, and that guy in the suit jumps out and punches him straight in the face. Well done. Now, I don't advocate violence, but they were going to hit him, so he had to defend himself. They were shocked. They were like, well, somebody's actually going up against me. I, for once, have some opposition. It knocks the bollocks out of the world, which is quite nice. But we need to train our kids, and I mean train our kids better. Our teachers need to be able to do more. Our teachers need more support. Our parents need to be able to discipline better. And we need to bring our kids up properly, not let the kids run us, because it doesn't work.
Yeah, there's two sides to that, though.
You look at true. But you look at these idiots the other day, right? There's a video out there, and that like, we're going to let him wear dresses and skirts because he's got to decide what sex he is. He's 3 years old, for fuck's sake. It's your job to teach him the basics.
The excesses of society are always going to manifest themselves in what parents make their kids do, and changes to how we treat kids have to be slow. Otherwise, you could get some ideology manifesting and just wiping out.
I'm not saying go out and have them boot marching up and down the whatever.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. I understand.
A little bit more responsible parenting.
I'm just bringing up the other side to caution the things you're advocating, which are probably mostly good.
Yeah, I'm not asking you to start boot marching and raising one arm up and doing what some sort of pug dog does. But anyway, I'm just asking common sense.
I'm just not hearing a concrete suggestion here. Like,
well, ultimately, we have to. It's not just about telling parents what to do. Sometimes it's not just culture. Sometimes it's their material circumstances that lead them to treat kids the way they do. Sometimes it's. I think a big problem here is state dependence, and that's largely when you got single parent families in areas where they're all clustered together, and they don't have the natural, the things that human nature needs to develop, the normal influences.
Right. Ask Goodfella what you think.
People.
What do you reckon, mate?
Yep, so I'm going to say good night. I've gone way over my time, but it's nice to meet you all.
Thank you very much for putting up with us.
Same to you.
For the videos. Thanks a lot. Night.
Thanks for coming. Thanks for showing up.
Thanks for having me.
Best of luck.
All right.
Moving on to what you were saying, a lot of people are actually making a good case for a national service in that regard. Like, I know some people might call it, some people are arguing it's authoritarian, you can't force people to do it and stuff like that. But see, in places like Germany has it, South Korea has it, and Israel have it as well. Yeah. And a lot of them have quoted that. The kids, obviously, when they find out they have to do it, they'll try and avoid it. They don't want to do it, and they'll moan about it the entire time they're there. But it teaches them skills, good values, and discipline.
It does.
It's
coherentness.
You get choices to what you want to do. You can either do military national service or domestic national service. So you do get a choice as to what you want to do.
What's the domestic bit?
The domestic bit is things like you would work in like the care sector, care homes, or you would do things essentially. See how like sort of council jobs, like you would go around and like repair fences, or you could be like a trash man, like all those kind of jobs like that as well.
But you're doing something good.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You're contributing overall to the nation, learning skills, and also learning some fucking discipline. In the meantime,
I would prefer, but I don't like the idea of criminals going into the armed forces, because the armed forces are to be respected, right? But I would be in favour of the armed forces punishing the criminals, put them in charge of punishing the criminals, use them however they need to use them, get them working hard, discipline them.
Break the spirit and build it back up again.
But not put them next to the actual soldiers who want to be there.
Bring back Abu Ghraib.
Pretty much. Make people fear going to prison. They don't want to go to prison. Put the army in charge of punishing them. They'll set them straight.
Yeah, military school.
Hey, Uzalu, you're a bit of a dark horse. Sit there for hours saying fuck all, then go down the feminism road. Fair play. You went off and I was like, he's only fucking done it.
Well, I mean, I saw that she was a feminist, and I figured that it's an easy target.
Yeah, God, I
agreed with most of her points. And the funny thing, even though it's for Britain Party, I'm actually a Scottish nationalist as well.
It was when she basically quoted Hillary Clinton. That's when that annoyed me, because Hillary Clinton said that women are the primary victims of war because they lose their husbands and their sons and their brothers,
Yeah,
and I mean, when I said that, that's just unbelievable. That
when I said that women have no teeth, no skin in the game, that was just an expression. I didn't mean none, obviously. But
I will say it one way: if you get shot and killed, you're unaware of it.
I think
being shot. It's not just being shot or getting a bomb dropped on you. It's the self-sacrifice that you go through to put yourself in that position. And there's far more of that for a soldier than anyone else.
You might not
getting conflated where people were saying, I think it was like the suffer thing. Everyone suffers under war, but obviously there are different degrees. Obviously the men in the trenches suffer the most, but women suffer too, just not as much.
You said that if you get shot and killed, you don't feel it and you don't remember it or whatever, right? So
therefore, there's not many women that shot themselves in the foot because they weren't happy being at home. So
no, but so it sounds like you're saying the people who are still alive are suffering the most, right? But to me, that's similar to the argument when feminists say rape is worse than death. It's obviously not worse than death. Death is worse.
Yeah, it's pretty final.
Yeah.
You know, that's
It's
exactly
like,
what I'm saying.
it's not like death light, is it? It's not like
It's all bad.
a little bit of death.
I know
It's all
death
bad.
isn't really something you can just accept and then kind of enjoy, you know? Like,
Yeah, it's not like death and then we'll move forward from this. It's like death and
I
just
feel
death.
better now.
Yeah.
I didn't go for it to spiral into a conversation about the specifics of war, but my point was only that that feminism has its dark past as well. There's feminist terrorists, for example. I don't think that feminism
You didn't think it out, did you, Uzalu? Coming here causing trouble. Yeah, it's brilliant.
Well, I didn't want to come here and just
we-
have the echo chamber. I wanted to cause some trouble.
Good.
Yeah, brilliant. I like it. Yes, it's good. Yeah, we love that.
All
Yeah.
right.
So, freedom of speech. Yeah. Have we worked out that we haven't got any still?
Sorry?
Or because let's be fair. I mean, if we lived in America, you're having your freedom of speech taken off you slowly. I mean, they want to get rid of that amendment, don't they?
Well, they seem to want to do that all over the world. That's the
Yeah.
that's the scary
But
thing.
you see, you have the amendment. We
Yeah.
don't.
Well, we've all literally put Undoomed's channel at risk for the things we've said tonight.
Probably especially
Sorry.
me.
When you
Sorry?
think about it, we've put Undoomed's channel at risk with the things we've all said tonight,
yeah.
Yeah,
which is
there's,
shady.
there's always that.
All right.
There's always that.
Mm.
So apologies up front.
Yeah, definitely. Can't we just blame it on Cam? Because I mean, he's going down anyway, so that's just taking a piss. All right. No, at the end of the day, fuck it, blame it on me. I've got broad shoulders.
Yeah, everyone kind of knows that most of the jokes and everything and stuff that I say is kind of tongue in cheek. I ended up actually having to make a video to explain what my political viewpoints actually are because I realised that I was coming across as an actual cunt. And I was like, first and foremost, I'm a comedian. I say stuff on purpose to offend. Like, for example, tonight, I don't actually think that rape is something you can just sit back and enjoy. Like that, right? Obviously not.
Right.
But that's the thing, isn't it?
Why does everything have to come with a disclaimer nowadays?
Because people are
Thank you.
too pussy to understand humour.
Trigger warnings. Trigger warnings.
Thank you.
That's what it is.
Let me help you out with your trial here, right? Do you think assault is worse than rape?
Depends.
Who are you asking?
Depends. Like I would rather get if it's a punch to the face, no. If it's a kick in the balls, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd sooner have a blowjob than a punch in the face.
It depends how
That's
serious
probably-
the assault is.
Yeah, of course, there's degrees. That's my point. There's some forms of assault that are worse than rape, and yet rape is the big sympathetic, lightning rod.
Yes.
And assault.
Well,
is
that's
done
like
much more
burgling
to
the
men
body.
than
That's
rape
the
is.
yeah.
So I do bring up this MRA stuff, not because it's some sort of identity or I have any problem with women myself. I have none of these issues that I talk about with MRA issues. It's not an identity or anything. It's just, if we're going to do this equality thing, the logical conclusion is that there's one side missing, and it is a good thing to bring up to cause some fission, to cause some disagreement.
Right. Of course.
Always.
Old Dr. Moran, I'm not going to get it out now after a few fizzy coffees.
Dr.
Random
Random. Yeah, response
he
videos
is
as art.
He is a men's right guy, you know what I mean? But
I
at the end of the
love
day,
him. I love him, man. He's just so lovely, and like see meeting him in person, like he's just so lovely. He's actually such a good guy.
I've not met anybody. Literally, I've not met a single person from YouTube or anything because I'm new to this. But I watched his where he got that puppet to debunk Piers Morgan. And did you see that one? Fuck. I was listening to it while I was driving the truck. I nearly crashed a cunt. It was that funny, but he is really, really funny.
Yeah, he is.
I've actually see now that you've actually just brought up fucking Piers Morgan. I actually tweeted a meme at him earlier today, and I've just realised he's blocked me. Fuck's sake!
The list is long but distinguished.
So what's this about you actually doing your videos in your truck? What was that about?
Yeah. Well, to be honest, what I would do, right, is I would set it all up so that basically the law is you're not allowed to have anything where your windscreen wipers work. You're not allowed anything blocking that view. Right, cheers. So I made sure it wasn't. So because I do everything on my phone, as I said, the everything. I don't do anything on the computer. It's all done on the phone. So you just set it off.
That is
driving.
impressive. Sorry to interrupt.
All of your thoughts, everything, right, come out, and then what you do later on, you chop it all up and put it back into a video. So yeah, using a phone's a piece of piss. Computer, fuck off. I got no chance. I have a really hard job. Just turn the prick on. I'm a steering wheel technician.
So basically, you're getting paid to drive the truck, and then you're making YouTube videos while you get paid.
Yesterday, I had a 13-hour day and still managed to do 4 videos.
That's a pretty good system you got going there. It's impressive how much you do on your phone as well.
Yeah, well, it's only it's a Samsung 8, the big thing. So yeah, it's quite useful. But to be honest, all you do is if you want to do some green screen stuff, you do it all quickly before you go to work. I've taken it down now for this, and then you keep it there. Then when you go to work, because you have to go, you drive to where you go, and they have to unload you. They could take forever. So while you're on break, you're getting paid for it. You don't get involved with that, so you just do all your editing there and there. So, which is why I'm not worried about the fact that I can't monetize anything, because I'm not monetizable. Everything, as soon as you put it in there, like, no, fuck off.
Right.
So I still earn a living, but yeah. When I hear about YouTubers of the past being able to earn money from their ad revenue, it's just like, really? That must be mad.
You need to do more streams. Get on that super chat racket.
I've over. What's it? Hang on a second. No, I can't because it's on the fucking phone, which I'm doing this through now. But over 1 million views, and I earn $1.30. That's fucking impressive, isn't it? I really am raking it in.
You need to get into a fight with a big YouTuber and then do a stream together. You know.
Well, yeah.
Try that.
This is it. This is the first big thing I've done. So otherwise I'll just sit in my truck and rant like I'm a fucking nutter.
Speaking of super chats, I'm going to read some. Robert the bot is back saying that my dream is to be a bot. Well, his name is Robert1234, whatever. And
YouTube will give you more power than us.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
He's the one that runs YouTube. So there you go. Nihilistic Nacho says, love all your channels. What do you each think about Warski blood sports? Also wish you best of luck with the legal battle, Count Dankula.
Same for me.
I know fuck all about that blood sports thing, so you'd have to explain that one to me.
The ratings speak for themselves.
I thought that was Tonka saw. Is Warski considered blood sports as well?
Yeah, there's a few channels that do it.
Sorry? What Warski does the blood sports the same way Baked Alaska.
Right.
He does it as well.
I mean,
it's entertaining and thousands of people watch it, so it must be working.
But there's lots of people that like it.
I don't know, exactly. Like people are watching it, so that's good, right?
I was going to do a video on this. I have no problem with internet blood sports, but my contention was that it's not only is it not a fad, but it doesn't even exist as its own independent entity. It's just normal internet debates, except that there was an explosion of conflict because the alt-right and the center, approximately, came together in live, one-on-one, large sort of individuals from each side debates for pretty much the first time. And there was an explosion of conflict. And I don't think internet blood sports is anything more than that temporary explosion of conflict. And good for Warski and the others for raking it in and making those popular streams. But not only will it not last in its current state, but it will last in the state it had always been in from now on until there's some new explosion of conflict.
I notice there's a lot of drama on YouTube that I didn't actually want to get involved in. You know, one channel goes and picks on another and he picks on him. And it's a bit like over here, we've got a soap called EastEnders. It's that sort of drama, isn't it? And people tune in because they want the fucking drama. I never wanted to get involved with that because, to be honest, it just wasn't my thing. I was more about what I wanted to put out there and that. And there it is. I mean, I've got a feeling that I have Fox going to make I did a thing about that. It's lesbian, LGBT, whatever, this week, adoption week. So I did a video about what I think about it. Gays, 2 gay men, yeah, crack on. 2 lesbians, yeah, crack on. A geezer with a suicide rate of 20% before the op and then 40% after, might have a few little grey areas about that person adopting, but that's just my personal belief. So he's going to do a response video on that one. So that'll be quite interesting. And that'll be my first response video I've ever had. So I'm looking forward to it.
Right. But I mean, it's fine to have some conflict, but I'm just not that interested in or, you know, I don't have the time to stay atop of who's fighting with whom. And,
no, I sooner watch fresh content, fresh stuff, new information, that sort of stuff. I'd far rather watch that or watch how some politicians have made a complete arse of themselves and fallen over themselves. I mean, like Diane Abbott, the gift that keeps giving. Jeremy Corbyn, another winner, right? Trump, I love him dearly, and he does come off with some one-liners. I mean, I do miss the old days where you had that one where some of our imports come from overseas. Yeah, amazing. But this is the sort of stuff I like, where people rip the shit out of that. But going after other content makers, it's like, oh, well, that's up to you.
But it's not like Bloodsport is about going after other.
I don't know if I call it about Bloodsport. That's why I said you'd have to explain, because I've not seen any of it.
It's basically just what we're doing right now, but it's, you know, people who hate each other.
A lot more screeching.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I think the height of intellectual conversation here on YouTube right now. I mean,
I have the ability to get rid of the said screeching.
So it's like people.
You didn't actually think I was drinking coffee all the way through this, did you?
People think it contributes to the overall political argument. I don't think it really does. It is the equivalent of Jerry Springer. I'm not going to take away the fact that it is entertaining. It is entertaining, and it can be fun to watch. But one thing that someone actually pointed out to me as well is, see, because the alt-right don't really have a platform, because they get deplatformed everywhere they go, Bloodsports is actually a good way to actually hear their arguments and also their reasons for them, because, you know, the best way to attack an argument is to go for the reasoning behind it.
So Richard Spence did quite well lately. He had an event, and I think
we're not getting enough opportunity to actually hear their arguments. See, once we actually hear their arguments and the reasons for it, then all the better way to actually be able to debate against them. Because I don't want an ethno state. I feel it is.
No, not really.
I think it's completely.
I've got friends of all.
See if there are people that actually live in this country, they've not broken the law, they've integrated and all that kind of stuff as well, and we are just basically throwing them out specifically for the colour of their skin. We're in the built a life for themselves here. We're punishing people who have done no wrong. Like, that's
good.
Yeah.
We're punishing good people. I mean, why would you do that? It's like, you seem a nice person, get the fuck out. Why would you do that? You'd be like, you're a nice person, you stay. Yep, you. Yes, you. Stay. That's it. Build friendships, build relationships with good people. Not fucking kick them out because they might be a different shade. I mean, Christ, I can't trace my family tree back. I think I'm the biggest mongrel on this fucking stream at the moment. But there it is.
I think it's a fact as well. See if there's someone from the Middle East that's came here and we try and send him back, but the reason that he actually came here is because he's a homosexual, and we'll let that go back.
There's reason to stay.
Yeah, man. Fucking, I hope you're singing "I Believe I Can Fly" as they throw him off a fucking roof. Sorry. You say you're homosexual and you can't fly. Yeah, okay. Well, just stay over there. We'll get you a place. Right? Good enough reason, isn't it?
We got an interesting question from the super chat here. Trey Silver Wolf says, do any of you think there will be any repercussions from the new YouTube chat replay feature in correlation with free speech and censorship?
Why do you think it gets introduced? Like, I'm certain that that's one of the main reasons they get introduced.
It may be. That may be.
We were talking about it before the stream, and I think just to concisely put my point, that having it more permanent like that does increase the responsibility to treat people's free speech there with more reverence. And there were occasions where moderators would suppress people that were spamming, and it was not great, but it was okay because it was just temporary. But now that it's permanent, there's more of a argument to just let everyone even just spam, because it's still expression. You don't want to censor something permanent like that.
So they can punish you. They can punish you for what someone says in the chat.
So let me get this right. In the old days, right, because I've not done streams. In the old days, everybody could write whatever the fuck they like while the stream's going on, and as soon as you upload it, all of those comments would be gone, would they?
Yeah.
Is that what it worked in the old days?
As soon as the stream ended, the comments are gone.
Oh, right. So pretty much you could get away with saying whatever you liked before it got uploaded. Yeah, that would probably make sense why they're keeping them.
Well, obviously, now they have more data to map people or whatever you want to call it.
My advice is never post anything you're not willing to go to prison for. Simple as. So, and if you believe it wholeheartedly, then fucking post it. If you're just trying to be an edgy cunt, then my advice is, if you don't want to get your collar felt, don't write it. That's just a thought.
Yeah, well, obviously you Brits have to worry about going to prison for
every day
saying stuff. It's like it's
ridiculous.
It's like 1984.
Yeah, no, all the time you'd be recording something, you'll go blah, 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 and you'll just come out the one wrong word, scratch the lot, start again. because you didn't mean anything by it, but you just know it's going to be taken out of context. So you're like, fuck, that's a whole video bollocks to start again and go in. But yeah, and it's trying to get as close as you possibly can without getting it like done, because this is how you really feel, and you want to get it across, and you don't want to come across as like Reverend Light or whatever because it's bollocks. But you think, what is actually going to get me arrested?
Right. So what about you, Dankula? Are you censoring yourself now?
Censoring myself? What do you mean?
You know, because you've been dragged to court and all that. How does this affect you?
Well, see, at first, yeah. I don't know, like, see how one of the first things that I ever did online was I appeared on Alex Jones. And you can tell by the way that I'm acting and that I'd had my balls cut off. I was so fearful of what I was saying and what I was doing and all this type of stuff as well. Like, basically, getting dragged away by the state and fucking held in prison kind of put the fear into me a little bit. So I was kind of sitting there like, holy shit, I need to be so careful about everything that I say. But then what happened was the newspapers kind of permanently got rid of, that's the social consequences. It's the whole thing. I've spoken about it before, where if people can't get you with the law, they'll make sure that you use the social consequences instead, where basically you don't agree with us, you've offended us, therefore we are going to completely remove your right to work and feed yourself. It's called it's a technique called breaking your rice bowl. And but see, when it got to that point, when I realised that I'm never going to be able to get a regular type of job again, those days are gone. The papers have ensured that. And at this moment in time, I'm still going to court, could possibly lose my freedom, but where I am now, there's literally nothing else I can lose. Everyone already thinks I'm a racist. I get called a Nazi fucking constantly. Loads of people in the public don't like me, so I literally have nothing else to lose, so I really don't give a fuck about what I say now. Like, that's why
when it gets to that stage, it couldn't get any worse, could it? Essentially, you could only go, well, fuck me. I hate to give you it because you'll not like him. David Icke, when he came out with the stuff he came out with, right, and everybody thought he was a nutter, he said, well, now I'm free of these chains. I can say what the fuck I like now because it couldn't get any worse. And that's the same situation. I mean,
if you strike me down, I'll become more powerful than you can ever imagine.
Dark. I work for myself. I mean, when they phone up my boss and they get me on the end of the phone, that'll be brilliant.
Don't make me destroy you.
Someone finish up face into Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Who has that on standby?
Me, of course.
Can't be too careful, you never know.
Always ready.
That's the first thing I said. I said, well, what do you know about this Undoomed? Oh, he's good with the graphics. He's good with the editing. Oh, that's interesting then, yeah. Never expected that, though, I've got to be honest.
So
Most drivers are like Jedi, you know.
How much prison time are you facing, though, Dankula?
It can be up to a year. One thing that the prosecutor actually tried to do as well was increase my charge. He tried to edit the charge into something more severe, where my maximum sentence could have been 5 years. He's proper pulling out all the stops to make sure that I get jail time.
Oh my God! That is trumped up.
Like I said, the fact is now this is now just bitterness for the prosecution service, because see how when they first decided to bring charges against me, they basically became a laughingstock to the British public. Everyone was attacking them left, right, and centre. Even loads and loads of Jews for Israel were sitting there saying, like, okay, then the joke was awful. It was in bad taste. We were offended, but why the fuck are you trying to send this guy to jail? Holy shit, that's overkill. So, like, they've basically become an absolute laughingstock. So, see, now what they're doing is they've lost reputation. They've lost all credibility. So now it's just pettiness. They just really want to make sure they get me. Yeah, it's just payback now. That's literally all it is.
Oh my God! So a year.
Yep, a year in prison for a fucking meme. And would I do it again? Yeah, fuck yeah, I would fucking do it all over again. I've had the time of my fucking life. I got to meet Alex Jones.
When did that happen?
Turning the fox gay. Sorry, I believe that's true. But
I just got emailed and all that, man, and I was like, this is a fake email. This isn't fucking real. And all that, man. And then I actually had to get people to confirm with me. No, this is genuine. We're being serious. And I was like, but yeah, I want to fucking.
Because that just happens every day, doesn't it?
But the thing is, I'm at the point now where I'm actually doing uni talks and all that as well. Like, and I'm sitting there like, I even sat in front of the uni last time. Pure like, I'm giving a uni talk. What the fuck? Like, I'm just a shit.
The revolution strike back. I'll get them. Yeah, one uni at a time.
World War IV will be fought with memes.
Unironically, that's true.
Yeah, the great.
All right.
Yeah.
Super chat again. You're stuck on an island. Who do you depend on for help? Riley Dennis, Zarna Joshi, or Anita Sarkeesian, or Rosie O'Donnell?
Anita Sarkeesian. She's the prettiest.
No, the question was, who do you depend on for help?
Well, what kind of help? What kind of help?
You have a penis between your legs. She doesn't give a fuck about you.
No, but she's a con artist. She's a con artist. She's conning feminists out of their money. So I like her for
something funny. Do you want to hear something funny?
She's conniving and resourceful. Is that what you're saying?
Do you want to know something really, really funny? I actually know a guy who used to date her in high school.
No.
Really?
I'm not going to say his name. Right?
Of course.
But he tweeted at her, pure basically going, "Oh, hey, it's me, blah, blah, blah. Just want to know how you're doing and all that, blah, blah." And she fucking blocked him, like, immediately, like that, man. And I'm sitting there like, what did you do to her? You might be the cause for this. What did you do?
Yeah. You changed her. She was a nice girl before you wrecked her.
Her previous Macintosh.
It's a bit like, hang on a second, it was a bit like, what's her name? Kylie Minogue before fucking Michael Hutchins got hold of it. That's the difference. Sorry, I'll stop that. Carry on.
Well, my answer is obviously the misogynistic one. I picked the only man on the list.
Riley.
Yeah, that's coincidence though. I think the con artist argument you make, Goodfellow, is actually not bad, but I don't think Riley is malicious. I think Anita is. I think Riley is just delusional.
But you're alone. You're alone on a desert island with her. She doesn't have the authorities on her side. I'm sure you can find something to get her to help you with.
Yeah,
you know?
It is a compelling argument, and it also, if you're including sex in the meaning of the word help, then that's also.
And all I'm saying, it could be a golden opportunity because you're on an island on your own, no witnesses. Like, that's all I'm saying.
Exactly. But yeah, I noticed.
As long as nobody sees, you haven't got to beat them up. All right, simple as that. Right.
I notice you're not arguing that she's not the prettiest, though. She's definitely the prettiest out of the four.
Don't matter, mate. My stage, I'd fuck a rolling donut, mate, just to get laid. However, right, I would simply go with Count Dankula's mate's ex, because at least it's been road tested, it's proven, it works. Love a bit of that. That'll do.
Yeah, but she'll probably want to peg you.
Well, there's no strap-ons
Yeah,
on the island.
I'm open-minded.
Fashion in a strap-on out of a branch, just like primitive technologies.
I've got a story. I've got an interesting.
But Dank, there's
Sarna Joshi, because I think I could irritate her enough to just claw her way to civilization again.
Dank, there's an easy solution to that though. When she bends over to pick over a branch, that's your chance.
Liberated. They are.
Man, they could use this stream for all kinds of shit.
Yeah,
we're all fucked now. We weren't before.
Well, that's the nature of streams, isn't it?
I mean, let's be fair. You are now the new focal hate point for all feminists. You've done a great job tonight. You really have. So,
who are you talking to?
Hi, feminists.
Uzalu.
Ah.
Yeah, because remember his little chat with earlier on with Anne-Marie? Yeah.
Are you saying he was their poster boy before?
I wouldn't say that the feminists were going after him before, but I would simply say now they might be slightly miffed. Just a thought.
It's really not.
I don't think they're, all that surprised.
See, almost any negative consequences I face for my part in the stream will be interesting, if nothing else. It'd be better than nothing.
No. Any media is good media, more or less.
The old Chinese saying, may you live in interesting times.
That's a good one, actually. Yeah, may you live in.
It's a curse.
We're currently cursed with living in interesting times. The saying is just. I think it's not just may you. It's something about a curse. I can't remember exactly what it is, but we are currently cursed with it. But the one bit of good news is that it's not solely a curse.
Yeah, no, it can be entertaining.
I have fun.
Yeah.
I think I have quite a lot of fun with everything. That it's just like the fact is, like, I basically was raised on 4chan, old school 4chan, before it was so cancerous. And all I've really been given now is a bigger platform to annoy more people. Man, this is kind of like my bread and butter. So, like, I'm happy where I am.
My best mate's an autistic bloke who grew up on 4chan. I knew nothing about anything, and he went, after a few beers, let me have a chat with you. And I've just been created this fucking monster. I was quite the quiet lad in some ways. I wasn't politically minded at fucking all. And then he started. But yeah, 4chan is quite the way forward, isn't it? I mean,
did he offer you a choice of 2 coloured pills by any chance?
No, he just beat shit. He was so manly. There was no blue pill. He just beat the shit out of you a few times, and then force fed you like like a cat at the vet. It's like, get it in you fucker.
So it's a red pill suppository.
I think
yeah.
The reason that there's lots of and fuck ups right now. See how when the internet was first created, we were all the teenagers that were in high school and stuff like that. We were maybe bullied. We were maybe the weirdos, the freaks, the autists. So we had nowhere else to go but this new blossoming thing called the internet, which is something that we were the first citizens of, to be honest. And what we did was we created this world in our image. It's cancerous, it's beautiful, it's autistic, and we built this, and people are coming here to fuck it up. This land is ours. This land is ours.
I can really hear.
We forged this cancer out of the wilderness.
Replace us.
Where's your flag today?
I'm going to build an online autist ethno-state.
Can I vote somebody in? Because I've got somebody best mate. He's going in there. Yeah.
Anyway, on that note, I'm going to bounce off for the night, guys.
Enjoy the additional prison time this stream has netted you.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Anyways, I'll see you all in the gulag.
Yeah, no worries.
Take care, man.
See you later.
All right, so I'm gonna do a super chat here. Vaughn says, "Just do the British thing and colonize them."
British Empire did nothing wrong.
Yeah.
Except collapsing.
Paul Coucher says, "What do you guys think of Corbyn having a racist ex-model? She is an advisor in Berghoff Monroe."
I think that just endorses his policies even more. I think it's a really good idea. At least it shows just what a credible Wankstein he is. It's brilliant. I mean,
is that the person we talked about before? Or?
Yeah.
Have you seen him giving it a cuddle? He's like this. You couldn't give it a further away cuddle if he tried.
All he's doing with this tactic is amplifying the existing radical support he had. If anything, he's going to lose a few more moderate supporters from this, but the ones he keeps are going to be more intensely supportive of him. That's his technique at this point. All Corbyn needs to succeed is an incompetent opponent. So, for whatever disagreements I may have with him, I think Mog is what we need right now.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, he certainly seems 100% old school British to me.
The problem is no party is one man, and his party, a lot of them don't want him there because if he had the chance of being a leader of that party, he would bring about changes that a lot of them I don't think want.
A lot of them do want him though.
I think he's more. There are a proportion that do. I think he's more in touch, even though he's got the accent and he's come from a very nicely brought up background. I think he is more in touch with the average human being out there. I mean,
because he's connecting with them rather than class.
Yeah, exactly. Who runs forward when you weigh about 4 stone wet through into a bunch of Antifa people to debate them? Everybody else would have done the opposite. They'd have gone the other way. Right. And it shows the sort of mettle of the man. I mean, he went up. I mean, I liked him before that, but he went up shitloads in my estimation. When I seen that, I was like, fair fucking play, because I couldn't see any of the others doing that.
Right. Right. Yeah.
So fair play to the boat.
That was pretty good.
He has whatever quality it is about Trump that made people say he was honest, even though he was lying more than Hillary. It's something like human relatability is what he has, and it's definitely positive in politics, especially among in a time of populism. So I can't think of anyone I'd rather have.
And he looks so quintessentially British. It's scary.
He does. He is, and he's a very religious bloke. He's got a big family, and he's very, very traditional.
Mm-hmm.
But I saw him on a documentary where him and some really radical left-wing politician went out.
Hold up. Goodfella, you got to go?
Yes, I didn't want to interrupt. I'm going to shoot now. Thanks for having me on. Sorry if I wasn't as talkative as I usually am, but there was a lot of voices. So
yeah.
But no, it was good. It was very interesting, and it was good to interact with the other guys who I've never interacted with before, Uzalu and RSS. Rev. Is that what you call yourself? Rev.
We should definitely do a stream sometime.
Rev.
Right. Well, it was good meeting you guys. Anyway. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. Bye.
Bye.
No worries.
Take care, bub.
All right. Yeah, I think we should probably start wrapping it up as well here.
Yeah, that's fine.
So did we have were we about to say something?
I think we were just going down the road that basically he even managed to take out somebody who was so fucking hard left, and by the time he'd finished, he won them round.
Right.
So he is a very charming people person, so he would be very good for the country.
Well, I think it makes sense that since we were kind of talking about the UK in this, we've ended on what could be a somewhat positive conclusion. If the Conservative leadership changes in that direction, it will at least go towards solving some of the big problems we're having right now.
Yeah,
right.
Totally.
Yeah, he seems like a good person. So let's see what he does.
Thank you everyone for coming then.
All right.
Yeah, cheers everybody for having me.
Yeah. Thank you very much for showing up, and thank you for listening, you people out there, and thanks for the super chat. I'd also like to mention Love Liberty on Twitter. He's the guy that has been helping us arrange this thing, so thanks for that. And I'll see you next time. So bye-bye.